Hey everybody, welcome back to the Alien RPG. This is session 2 of our new campaign that we just started. In case you missed the first one, you can find it right here on YouTube. And session 2, my players will finish up the first scenario. And I hope you guys enjoy this content. Please comment below. Please like and subscribe. These things really help the channel. I'd love to see your thumbs ups and I'd love to see any comments you have. And this scenario or this campaign can actually be found on my website. I'll put the links in the description for the video below if you want to play it yourselves. Thank you so much, and we'll start the video.
Maybe just a quick one.
Okay, quick one. So, you guys were on your survey mission. Apollo woke you up because it had brought you to this system called AvPvE. You found a pretty standard system with a couple terrestrial planets, but number two was the important one. You detected a refined metallic mass on your sensors from a distance. As you surveyed the system and closed in, you also detected radiation. You detected a radio signal on a UPP, a low-level radio signal on a UPP transponder. When you broke atmosphere, you actually picked up the message, which Apollo, you guys had a great idea of having Apollo translate it. And it was a woman's voice talking about a biological outbreak of unknown origin, requesting help. You guys landed and suited up in your spacesuits, either for the radiation or the potential biological issues, maybe both, and proceeded to continuously lose a lot of air. Just over and over and over. Jim is on the ship, hanging out and monitoring. Everybody else went ashore. You guys had entered the colony, and in the courtyard you found about a half dozen dead human beings, completely black. Their flesh and skin had just been turned completely black, but not from some sort of burning or chemical of any nature you're familiar with. There were also a number of empty, scattered suits of clothing, like jumpsuits and whatnot, and there was a kind of a sooty ash around those. You moved up into habitation, where you found an unknown dead creature that looks like it was probably human before, as well as a dead person. You moved into what was the galley, where you found a cryostasis crate in use. You took that into the medical bay, which attached to the galley, opened it, found a woman inside speaking Russian, and you had Apollo do a little bit of translation there, and she was saying that everyone's dead, she's infected, etc., etc. So you guys threw her back in the stasis crate and uh, and uh, and put her on ice. You also investigated. Out of the galley was a room or the mess galley, what have you. There was a doorway, rather, that went outside into what looked like a series of animal pens. You found some dead, blackened pigs, but then you also found the bizarre animal, which looks like it might have been a pig once. Some sort of mutant creature that had been clearly skewered by something, but you don't know what. You eventually made your way south through the medical bay into command, and then you went into what you figured out was the Ivan room, their version of Apollo, and you located the Andy, or excuse me, Dr. Roman um, had gotten you guys into the system, figuring that it is a ripoff of Apollo. Figured it probably had an English setting in there somewhere. He got that figured out, and he also determined a backup drive you guys could take that has all the footage of the colony. It looks like the colony was established about 3 months ago, so between all the cameras, there's 21,600 hours of footage to review. So Dwayne Dunning, I believe, is carrying that backup drive. Is that correct? Yeah. Um, You accessed the rest of the colony, or you accessed the colony's cameras because there was a few places you knew you hadn't investigated yet, and there were three rooms that you could see. One was it looked like a private crew quarters. Was more or less empty, though it was messy. And then there was another, was also private crew quarters, very clean, very organized. And from the camera's point of view, you could see a set of boots like sticking out from behind a kitchen counter. And then there was one third area you had not investigated, which you've deduced is this area over here, the vehicle depot. And that's because there was some sort of vehicle in there that looked like it was undergoing some sort of maintenance. You could see part of a power loader and a whole bunch of tools, stuff like that. So that's where we are at. I want to show you guys something real quick. I'm going to drag you to... Oh, I'm trying to. There we go. There we go. You guys should see star map.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little off kilter because I pulled this from the CMOM book, and unfortunately, in the PDF of the CMOM book, the if you're looking at the book, the map is one big layout, but if you're in the PDF, it's on two separate pages, and if you set your PDF reader to view two pages at a time, one's up here and the other's down here on the next page. So I had to kind of rip it from that. So it's a little off kilter, but if you look over there, there's AvPvE. And there was some question about Arcturus. Arcturus is right here. So, like I said, you guys are almost 5 parsecs away from Arcturus, basically due east on the map. But that shows you the layout of the star system and where you're actually at the moment. So, I wanted you guys to see that. Alright, so I'm going to... Let's see, so Decker, you are on ship. We'll get everyone back over to everyone else back over to the colony. For some reason, there we go. Rudy wasn't dragging. There we go. Alright. So the three of you should see the colony map again. And Jim, you should be on the ship. Alright, cool. What's the plan, gentlemen?
We still had a room to investigate to the south, right?
Yeah,
we?
there's
Not
a
counting the vehicle bay.
correct. There's a door right here on the southern side of the command.
What do you guys think? Should we proceed there?
Makes sense to hear this out and then move on to the next.
Or we could check that out, and then we can go see if we can find some kind of vehicle to flatbed this cryopod over to the ship.
Good.
All right, move to that door, I guess.
All right. Let me open up, since I've got to run Mitchell or Dr. Roman and Vickers for the time being. Let me see where he's making notes here.
Remind me everyone's error. We did an error roll at the end of the last session, and I dropped down to 2.
Good call. Roman's at 2, and Vickers is at 2.
Okay.
How are you, Jake and Rudy?
I'm also at 2.
Here is a 3.
Okay.
Oh.
So you guys are all you're all hanging in there. You're about half. So on the map, that door is a security door, but it's not actually meant to be a security door. So you guys, and was just my screw up on that, but you guys move in, and you're in kind of a small vestibule, and there are 2 doors in front of you, basically side by side, separated by a few feet. But one is, they're both security doors, and each one of them has some Cyrillic writing stenciled on it. And they are
That's
security
interesting.
doors requiring specific access.
What do they take? A key card or?
A key card, or it looks like an access code. So if someone wants to hack it, it would be a Comtech roll.
Well, I think Andy's character was our hacker.
Yeah, I'll
He had
let's see.
the assistance of Decker's deck, his hacking tool.
Jake, you're pretty good at Comtech, aren't you?
Yes.
I'll let you do the rolling on that if you like. I'm gonna try to minimize the NPCs rolling as much as possible because they can't push technically. So go ahead and you can go ahead and make the roll, and we'll give you a +1 from Roman. Which door are you going to try to open?
Can he use the deck that
Well,
that Andy was?
that's for computers specifically.
Oh, not doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which door? That one there? Okay. Alright, so go ahead and make your roll. Two successes. Perfect. What do you want to do with your stunt?
Okay. Make me open the stump thing.
Cover your tracks. +1 bonus to a later Comtech roll. Free success on a comparable roll.
Free success on another door.
Okay, that's fine. Alright, so you guys get that door open, and... Sorry, the map's not very big right here, so I'm just going to stack you all on top of each other. Yeah, you're in a set of private rooms. It's one of the ones you saw off of the camera in Ivan. This is the messy room, essentially. There's clothes strewn everywhere across the floor, on the bed, on a utilitarian Spartan couch. There is a doorway that leads to what looks like a private bathroom with shower, and then there's kind of a kitchen area that adjoins the main room, separated by a counter. Beyond that, you don't see anything else here.
I'll spend a turn looking for. I'm hoping to find a journal or some kind of data pad or something like that.
Okay, make an observation roll. One success. Very good. You don't find anything like that. However, there is a network terminal complete with monitor over by the bed. It's so yeah, that you do find that.
Okay. I will bring it to Dr. Sinclair's attention.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look at this then. I'll scratch my head and see what my SSDD can tell me about it.
All right. So you can make a Comtech roll with +2 from the SSDD, and we'll continue to give you that point of help from Dr. Mitchell or Dr. Roman. Whoa! Oh, wow! Wow! Okay. Roll your panic, please. A 9. Drop an item. Wow, I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's not that big a deal. So you were successful with 4 stunts.
Wow.
Great Scott! Look what I have found!
Great Scott.
Excellent.
Tell you what you can tell from it is it's of course it's all in Russian. It looks like it is a relatively minimal use network terminal specifically for making for making and recording probably personal logs and that type of thing. It it does look like that it would be connected to Ivan, so you could certainly gain all this information from Ivan as well. And that might be more helpful with Dr. Roman having turned Ivan onto an English setting, though you don't know what language the logs are in, of course. But what would you like to do with your 4 stunts?
New and unexpected information.
New and unexpected information. It's a little tough. It the the logs are. It looks like they're all audio-video files, as opposed to written, and playing. You're probably looking through, maybe playing one for a moment. There's a middle-aged woman who's recording the files there, and of course she's recording in a language you assume to be Russian. The first timestamp goes back about 3 months. That's when the first log was made. The last log was made almost 30 days ago.
I will relay that and tell everybody we probably need to take this back and have the data passed and figure out how to get this in English.
And you have 3 more stunts, by the way.
New and unexpected.
Yeah, no, I did that once already. Nice try.
Doctor, you
Just-
can download these. You can download these logs and take them back with us.
On it now. Just 2 plus 1s for later.
Okay, that'll work.
The last video was how long ago?
The last log was almost a month ago.
A month ago.
But I kind of plug in my Ethernet, or if we've got any external storage, grab as much as I can and kind of look around.
I don't know that any of you have any external storage. Data sticks or anything along those lines?
It's not.
Not I.
Well, of course, you do have the hard drive, actually, that you took from Apollo with video footage on it. So I'll let you get by with that.
Hollow?
Or from Ivan, yeah. I'll let you use that. That's fine.
Okay.
Not a problem. And I won't make you roll for it. You had so many successes on that Comtech roll. We'll just let it go. It's no problem. All right. What's next, gentlemen and lady?
Well, we've got another door if there's nothing else in this room.
There's not much else that you see now.
Okay.
All right, Doc, you're up again.
Well, he has a success from last roll, right?
Yeah.
Door roll.
You just want to auto success through that door, Jake?
Yes, I'll just kind of wave my hand and open sesame.
That's right. All right.
Open says me.
So move you guys over into. That's weird. That didn't light up on my side. Do you guys see that last room, number 10?
Yeah, I see a little thing that we're big icons in.
There we go.
I can see it.
There, I see you. A 10. Yeah.
All right. It just. I'm still figuring out the dynamic lighting, so bear with me. This suite of rooms is basically identical in size and shape to the last one. It's just a mirror image. As compared to the messiness of the previous series of rooms, this one is clean and organized. There is nothing laying around that doesn't look like it belongs exactly where it is. In fact, there's really just nothing out there whatsoever. No discarded clothes, no anything. This is the room you saw on the camera. As you enter, you can see the kitchen counter over to the left side of the room that kind of comes out perpendicular to the wall, and you can see somebody's boots sticking out from behind that counter, just the last few inches of the bottoms of their boots.
I look around nervously at the rest and just whisper, "That better not just be boots."
Um, go ahead and make an observation roll, Jake.
Whee!
Roll your panic. Okay. All right. So, um, you were holding it together. So like I said, whoever had this room, it is very very well organized. You find another network terminal with monitor. Uh, Also, next to the bed is a canvas bag. As far as the boots in the kitchen are concerned, there is there's a dead man on the floor in the kitchen, slumped up against the cabinet. His skin and body are also blackened and calcified, much like the others that you guys have found so far. There are a half dozen empty water bottles on the floor just lying around haphazardly, um, as well as an AK-47 assault rifle.
Right. Well, we could definitely take that. Search him for reloads.
Okay.
Search him for any identifying paperwork, or as we did in the other room, look for any kind of journal, computer, personal data,
Yeah.
and take a look at what's in the canvas bag at some point.
Okay. So the AK-47, it is loaded. Who's picking that up?
Who's not armed?
I'm not armed. I have a bolt gun. Let me check the character sheet real fast, but I think and I have a decent ranged combat, so I think I should grab it.
Okay.
I think you should too.
It's weight 1.
Okay, let me add it to my sheet.
Yeah. And he does have a reload in one of his pockets, so.
Okay, I'll take that.
Alright. So that's a quarter slot item.
Yeah. Okay. I fixed my encumbrance and I added it to my sheet.
Okay. And as far as if you want to put it under attacks, it's a 0 bonus, 2 damage, long range. Oh, and it has full auto capability. Which, in case you guys don't recall...
Say that again, you said 0 bonus.
Yep, 2 damage.
2 damage. Okay.
And it's, like I said, it's full auto capability. In case you guys don't recall, any weapon that has full auto, if you use it in full auto mode, your stress goes up 1, you gain 2 bonus dice on your attack, but you will have to reload the weapon before you can fire it again. So just keep that in mind.
And what was the range on that guy?
Long.
Long, that's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure.
The canvas bag has UPP cash in it. Close to, it looks like, it's a lot. And if you want to sit there and count it now, I'll tell you how much, but...
No, we can just take that back with us, I guess.
Yep.
It's expensive to run a ship.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Is it really piracy? I mean, the person it belonged to is clearly dead. It's maritime salvage.
It's salvage.
Yep.
Jake, do you wanna do the do you wanna make a roll on the on the computer terminal?
Take.
Yep. So +3 total. Roll your panic, sir. All right, holding it together. Again, it's very similar to the other terminal in the other room. Again, it looks like it's a terminal set with its only real ability is to record private logs. It is again a bunch of audio video files, and the person recording this log is male. Might have a resemblance to the dead person in the next room, but a Caucasian male with hair is very different. With brown hair is very different from the person in the next room. Timestamps seem very similar in terms of about the first log about 3 months ago, last log almost a month ago. Beyond that, you can't really glean much because again they're all in Russian. But
Again, download what we can. And I'll just mention to the rest of them, I'm feeling a bit angsty here. We're starting to make mistakes. Perhaps we should take a breather sometime or the other just before we start making fatal mistakes.
I would say Vickers probably pulls out an auto injector and says, "Do you need one of these?"
No, not yet. I'm just a bit stressed, and I've had a few mistypes now.
All right. Well, I've got them. Let me know if you need one. Do you guys want to try and chill here for a turn and drop stress, or do you want to keep soldiering on?
Well, we're almost out of here. Maybe the doc doesn't have to make another roll before we leave. We just need to see if we can't find some vehicle to help us carry this frozen lady.
I mean, I'm only at 3 stress, but we know it escalates very fast. So,
Oh, you should be at 4 actually.
yeah, well, there we go.
Because when you dropped an item, your stress should have gone up 1.
All right.
Yeah.
Just playing the micro stress game.
Right. What's the plan, gentlemen?
I think all we have left to explore is I'm sorry if I talked over you. I was
just asking the question that you were answering.
I was just thinking that all we have left is the motor pool, correct?
I mean, based on what you know of the colony and what you've seen, yeah, there's nothing but the big building outside.
And we can access that through the courtyard.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken. So maybe we should go do that.
Alright. So just drag everybody over there. There we go. Because everyone was stacked on top of each other, so I couldn't see who I was dragging first. So I just dragged everybody. So this is a large, electronically locked, vehicle-sized door, similar to the one that you came through to get into the courtyard from outside the colony. So the question would be, how would you like to open it? There can be a Comtech roll at a -2, or Dwayne could try to pry it open with his maintenance jack. Up to you guys.
That's what I was thinking about trying.
I think I favor Dwayne doing it, me personally.
Okay.
This is right up his alley.
All right. So that'd be a heavy machinery roll, and you get +1 from the jack, I think. Holy shit.
Nailed it!
Yeah. You have 3 stunts, sir. What would you like to do with those?
Well, one will be
build a house.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
In half the time.
Well, well, first of all, we will do half the time.
Okay.
I'm already building up all kinds of extra successes and stuff, but I'm not going to break it permanently. That means it could never be locked again. Um, I don't know. I'll just bank the other ones.
Okay. All right. So 2
I'll write
plus
it
1
down.
is on
That
a
just
later
gives me
roll.
a million successes banked.
All right. All right. So just move you guys in so you can see the room on the map. So it's the room you saw on the camera. It's definitely a vehicle bay. Uh, and I apologize, I don't have a picture for this, but there is a large six-wheeled vehicle here. Um, it looks like it's been partially disassembled. Dwayne would probably recognize elements of its drive system that have been removed, and looks like it was undergoing maintenance of some kind. Um, it's a well, you know what? Let's see. Who's got direct experience with the UPP? I don't know if anybody does. Why don't you guys make straight wits rolls? Ignore any stress. Ah, there you go, Rudy. Okay, perfect. Rudy, you recognize this just having been around. Um, this is a UPP Ox style APC. However, um, the UPP Ox APCs are used by the Space Operating Forces, basically their version of the USCMC, and they're typically armed with armor-piercing Gatling guns and that type of thing. This has no weaponry on it. Additionally, it doesn't look like it looks like the armor's been stripped off. Kind of a demilitarized version, maybe for civilian use would be the best way to put it. Generally capable of carrying about 8 guys. Um, in terms of what else is in the room, there's all sorts of tools, hanging in various places, and then there is also what. Oh shoot! Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 moment. Was not prepared. I always forget something. There's always something I forget. There is also clearly off to one side, a Caterpillar P5000 power loader, but this one has no Caterpillar logos or emblems or anything on it. In fact, it's been painted red instead of the usual yellow, and it's got Cyrillic writing on it.
So, quick question to you as the GM.
Please.
Is the Caterpillar an option for carrying? I lost track of how far exactly we are away from the ship, but is the Caterpillar an option for carrying the cryopod?
Absolutely.
And okay, and if we got the Ox working, could it even fit the cryopod?
Sure.
Inside of itself?
Sure.
Okay, Dwayne, what do you think about this Ox? You think you could get it running?
Well, I think the GM has to say. Does it appear that all the parts are there? They're just taken apart.
Make a heavy machinery roll. All right, roll your panic, please.
Hold on.
And you get -2, correct?
Correct on the outcome. Where's? Dang it!
Are you trying to find the panic button? There you go.
So it's a 4.
Yeah, so you're holding it together. It's fine. So with 3 heavy machinery successes, it does look like all the parts are there. It looks like somebody was rebuilding the. It looks like somebody was rebuilding the hydrostatic drive system. and it does look like everything is there. You could get it running again. It would take you a shift of work.
Yeah. That's a long time and a lot of air.
All right. Well, we definitely don't have that to spare right now, so I guess it's the Caterpillar, huh?
Yeah, the autoloader. Is that what that?
Yeah, power loader. Yep.
Power loader.
Is that something you can operate, Dwayne? You have a
Uh,
Class C license?
yes, I should be very familiar with autoloaders,
Power loaders.
power loaders. What kind of role would it take to operate?
It's a heavy machinery roll, and it gains a. The ship you have detailed in any source books? No, it is not. It's something I built exclusively for this campaign. Um,
Remind me where the cryopod is.
you guys left it in medical.
Right. So this power loader is too big to go through the hallway, right?
Yeah, you guys
drag
are
it
going to
out.
have to physically pull it out into the courtyard and through this door here in the courtyard, and then you could pick it up and carry your back. It's power loaders give. I just looked at it and I just forgot. Let me make sure I'm being clear, or that I am clear in my own head. Power loaders have an armor rating of 3 when you're in it, which is kind of cool. And if you're using it for heavy machinery or close combat purposes, you gain a +3 bonus to that roll.
Okay, and then frankly, it looks as if it's completely intact. Oh, by the way, outside the game,
Yeah.
what is the power source for a power loader?
Eh,
Is it batteries?
we're just going to go with it's a rechargeable electric battery system.
In other words, it's not specified.
Correct.
All
All
right.
I know is from watching the movie, I don't remember seeing any exhaust come out of it. So.
All right, so I'm going to do a quick checkout of the thing, make sure it looks like it would work appropriately.
Oh yeah, it's ready to go. Plugged
Okay,
in and everything.
So, well, guys, this power loader's ready to go. I suggest that we go and muscle that cryopod out here into the courtyard so that I can pick it up with this thing. Save us a lot of effort trying to haul that booger back to the ship.
All right, roger that.
All right, so who's going to help with the... Are we all going to go in there and grab it, or... How heavy is that thing? They look like they would be kind of heavy.
Well, it's got a person in it, so it's close
Right.
to 200 pounds.
Yeah, so...
Now, I would say this, that it is probably a 2-man job.
at least.
Well, hey, I don't
Do
know
they have a
if
dolly in here?
She's not your type.
You know what? Make an observation roll since you asked if there's a dolly. Alright, roll your panic.
Ooh. Oh, mama.
Oh, you freeze.
What happened?
Just... I don't know. It's just the possibility of having to go lug this big heavy crate, and it just... there's got to be a dolly around here, and then you just freeze up and you're unable to find anything. Everybody's stress goes up 1.
Great.
Jesus Christ, these soft scientists, you know? God, yeah.
Apparently, I thought I saw an evil clown or something.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
The leprechaun. All right.
A pair of blue
All right,
eyes and a red nose peering at you from the sewer.
Who's going to help me muscle this cryopod into the courtyard?
I will assist you.
All right. So let's do this. Go ahead and make your stamina roll with a +1 bonus from Rudy helping you. We're just going to move everybody out into the courtyard. Is there anything else anybody else wanted to do in the vehicle depot? All right, you have a success, but you have a panic. Roll your panic.
7.
7, right, which is the nervous twitch, I think. Yeah, so your nervous twitch is your stress and everyone else's goes up 1. Is that correct, or is it just yours? Hold on. I will tell you. Yeah, everybody's stress goes up 1,
including me.
including you.
Oh, great.
Which is a perfect time to make an air roll, I think. You guys have been moving around, checking things out. It's been probably 20, 30 minutes since the last one. And who else do I need to roll? I need to roll Dr. Mitchell Roman. And air. Okay, so Jake drops 1. Everybody else is fine except for Vickers drops 1. Is that everybody? 5 people? Yeah, 5 people.
Let me ask Dwayne. Well, really, I'm asking Marty. What's your character's stress level at?
6.
I think we should consider having the doc shoot you up so that we can get this thing back to the ship.
Well, Vickers kind of speaks up and says, maybe we should head back to the ship before we do this. My air's getting low. We could go back to the ship and just take a few minutes to get our bearings before we finish this up.
All right. Well, is there anything else we want to do besides bring the cryopod back?
I don't think so. I think we're done here.
All right. So we can go back and top off our air, and then we don't all have to go back here to get the cryopod, because
Yeah, we can also rest at the ship for a minute and lower our stress. That would be good.
Yeah, I'll use the power loader to bring the thing back, so maybe somebody comes along just in case there's a clown waiting to jump on.
All right, so let's go back now before we all...
Okay.
Asphyxiate!
There.
Yay!
Well.
Alright, so I'm just going to drag you guys towards the edge of the map to kind of act like you're headed that way. I am going to... I need my... There we go.
It's so freaky for me. I'm sorry to say, take a second to say this, but one of these character portraits looks just like a dude I worked with for 18 years. And it freaks me out every time I see it.
Really?
Is it Bob's character picture?
I think it might be Dwayne's. Like right now they're stacked 1, 2, 3. Who's the one in the middle in the first row of the stack you made?
Right there?
Yeah.
That's,
Is that Dwayne?
that
Dwayne's
is Dwayne.
Yeah, he looks just like this guy I worked with. Yeah, Bob's guy reminds me of course, of the dude from Back to the Future, right?
Yeah, maybe a slightly evil version of it, but yeah.
Yeah, but especially in miniature, he looks just like Doc, whatever the character's
Doc
last
Brown.
name.
Doc Brown.
Yeah.
Alright.
That's funny. Rudy looks familiar too.
Well, it's Angela Bassett.
Yeah, it does look. Oh, okay, it does look like Angela Bassett, although the face looks thinner.
It's her from the movie Strange Days. Have you ever seen it?
Oh yeah, that's why her face looks thinner.
Yeah, it's like 30 years old, right?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
I mean, she's still amazingly beautiful.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. I was digging up this picture and looking at recent pictures of her, and I'm like, holy shit, woman. You're like my grandma's age. You look pretty damn good.
Creeping on Angela Bassett.
Oh yeah, big time crush. Big time crush. Big time crush.
All right, so
you guys make it back to the ship. You're coming up on the airlock. Do you guys want to change how you do this, or do you just all want to pile in and check for the scan and decon, or what do you want to do?
Well,
if we all fit, why don't we just all climb in?
Isn't that what we did the first time we came back? We just all came in.
You just all kind of piled in. Yeah. All right. So when you do that, give me 1 second. Apollo does its scan and announces biological contaminant. Biological contaminant detected. Max, if you check the terminal up on your spot up on the bridge. It's detecting a biological contaminant on Jake Sinclair's suit. Everybody else is clean.
Jeez. Okay, so I announced that to the group in quarantine right now. I'm sure we have procedures for this, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You can certainly run a decon like you did last time and just clean it all up if that's what you guys want to do.
Do we have the ability to take a sample of the contaminant, or is it something that just Leland knows?
I would say that Doctors Sinclair and Roman probably have that knowledge on how to do that safely. Roman would probably have to. Obviously, you wouldn't want Sinclair to leave the airlock,
Right.
so that he wouldn't track everything all over the ship. But yeah, Roman. Yeah, Dr. Roman, Andy's character says, "Well, I could go back to the lab and get what we need. If we can isolate what it is, we can get a sample of it, and then we can just decon his suit from there."
Well, I'm no scientist, but it'd be helpful to know what's contaminating us when we walk outside. So I'll defer to the professionals here. But I think that's the way we should probably go.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And I'm gonna look at my suit to see if there's any black dust on it.
Make an observation roll. Roll your panic.
Oh,
Freeze. So everybody's stress goes up one, except for Max, of course, because he's up on the bridge. But just the fact that you're contaminated with something, there's something on your suit, you're looking around, you don't see anything. It's causing you to freeze up.
can we just? I can't emphasize this enough that we cannot have an overabundance of caution. So that's a double negative. Anyway, I say let's just decon and get on with it.
I agree. If it was a contaminant, there's probably more out there to contaminate us or to gather. So, yeah, ship safety is paramount here if we can't figure this out right away.
So decon's an automatic process, though, right? In this airlock.
Yeah, he can basically. I would say Max is probably just holding it off at this exact moment in time while you guys have this discussion. But
yeah, we're still on suit air, so let's get this done and get inside. And
Roman says.
Okay.
Roman says, Jake, it doesn't seem to me that any of us moved through any sort of contaminant. Do you think it might be airborne?
I really hope not, but that is not impossible, especially if we don't know what it is. All options open. So I guess from now on, keep suits closed, take as much air as we can. Right, radiate us.
All right. So are you guys just all right? You're just going to decon. You're not going to try and sample anything from the suit itself, correct?
Well, we've already every time someone tries to do something with this high stress,
Okay.
they're panic. So
All right.
we're running the risk of making a big mistake that we'll regret for the rest of our short lives.
I agree completely.
All right.
We can always go back outside and get more samples.
All right. So the decon
Hey, Dwayne.
does its thing. Apollo announces that Jake's suit is that Dr. Sinclair's suit is clean, so you guys can enter the ship at this point.
Let's reset our air and reset our stress levels.
Yep. So you guys can pretty much take all the time you want, honestly, because the ship is a safe place. There's nothing going on. So if you guys just want to reset your stress to 0, who's got the most stress right now?
I was at 7.
Yeah, I think we're pretty tied. I'm at 7 too.
Ow.
Yeah, we probably go have a communal meal in the mess hall.
That's good. I like that. Give everybody a solid hour to kick back and chill out, kind of that type of thing. I think that's a great idea.
Nothing ever goes wrong with a group that eats together in the mess hall.
That's right. Yeah. No. All right. So yeah. So we'll fast forward it about an hour, unless you guys have anything you want to do during that hour besides get something to eat and de-stress.
Just have a basic discussion on how you want to do this next. Obviously, I need to go and get the power loader and grab the cryopod and bring it back. Um, who should go with me?
A quick question: that UBP rifle we found. Do we know whether any shots were fired out of it?
That was a very good question. Looking at the weapon, no, it has a full clip.
Well, I'm not much help out
Well,
there. I'm happy
when
to
I
go
was-
along.
Here's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If I get a contaminant on my suit and you want a sample of it, you have to be in the lock with me. You can't be in the ship and then open it up and come out to take a sample. So one or more of the doctors who would take this a possible sample need to be outside the ship so they can take the sample before we decontaminate, don't you think? Doesn't that sound right? I mean, if I'm in the airlock with a contaminant, you're not going to open the airlock to come in from the ship.
No, but you could leave the airlock.
If that,
Airlock, and then they can cycle through. Well, that's true. Well, unless I contaminated the airlock. Once
You
I'm
leave the airlock,
if I'm in
decon the
airlock
airlock,
with
have a
contaminant,
scientist
you have
leave.
to- Yeah, I'm just thinking that
I've seen
it
this
wouldn't
riddle
be
before.
yeah, it wouldn't be a big deal for one of the docs to just hang out in the airlock and wait for me to come back. Do we see any need for anyone to come with me to pick up the cryopod?
Yeah, for sure. I'll come with you. I think
Okay.
just for security, you shouldn't go
Yeah,
out there
in
alone.
case, like I said, in case we run into a clown.
Right. I will probably take back my AK though.
Yep, I hand it over to you, and I think both of us doctors get ready, so we'll have equipment in the airlock to sample and to assist medically, and then we'll wait with suits on there so that when and containers as well. So if we get decontaminated, that we don't destroy the samples.
That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. All right. Anything else you guys want to do or address, or shall we just move ahead with that?
I think we ought to get on with it.
Same here. And
Okay.
so when our air resets, it's 4, right? That was
Correct.
the correct value.
Correct.
And I'm not going to require air rolls at this point. So Dwayne and Rudy are heading out to get the power loader and pick up the crate and bring it back. So Dwayne, just make a heavy machinery roll. You get a +3 bonus.
And I also have three heavy machinery bank successes. So
Holy crap!
all right, so heavy machinery, and I get
I mean,
3, and I'll use one more. That'll be 4.
Okay. 22 dice. 12. 1 success. Well, that's fine. That's all you need. Yeah, you climb into the power loader. Like I said, everything is in Cyrillic. But it's exactly identical to a Caterpillar 5000.
It's either a knockoff or it's a repurposed.
Correct, one of the two. And you might not be sure which, but you're familiar enough with this type of equipment that you don't have any issue whatsoever getting it moving.
Okay.
And yeah, you pick up the crate in one of those big giant adjustable claws it has, yeah, and you guys trudge your way back to the ship. Uh, Upon so doing, Apollo had an extra success on his last roll, so I'm just going to give it to him for free. Upon so doing, so do you? Well, that's an interesting question. Um, these ships' airlocks are pretty big. Do you pilot the whole? Do you just bring the whole P5000 into the ship, or?
Um, if the airlock's big enough,
Yeah.
my thought is,
Well, you have a cargo bay, so if it's a cargo
right,
bay, there's got to be a door big enough to accommodate cargo, right?
right. So I wanted to ask the captain, um, uh, do you think we might have a use for a power loader in the future?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's again.
If we just need to make sure everything's decontaminated, but we have room in our cargo bay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you
Plenty of
guys have
room.
a single class 4 cargo bay, which
It's huge. I just looked that up. It's like it's real big. It's like
Do we have the ability to detect contaminants and decontaminate if necessary?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's no
Okay,
problem.
I didn't know if the cargo bay was different than an airlock.
And
right. I did.
in terms of Apollo is actually he announces again that he's detecting a contaminant. This time it seems to be on the outside of Rudy's suit. The power loader in your suit and the cryopod itself are clear.
What the hell is going on here?
So you guys were together the whole time?
Yeah. It a certain amount of this must be airborne. At any rate, Doc, if you were ready with all your gear, here's your chance to check out Rudy's suit. If were you guys in the airlock waiting for us?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
We had everything.
Captain, why don't you head over to the airlock and see if they can take a sample, and then you can decontaminate. It looks like Apollo says we're clear, so I'll close everything up, button everything up here, and we'll just leave the cryopod here in the cargo bay. I'll secure it.
All right.
That sounds fine with me. Yep.
So, in terms of sampling, Jake, I'm going to have you make a survival roll. Because it is biology related, because you know it's a biological contaminant, Apollo is telling you that, I will give you a +2 bonus, because you're a biologist, and then +1 from Roman's assistance. So a total of 3. Whew, look at that.
Look at the big brain on Jake.
That's right. That's right. So you have a pair of survival, what you call it?
Stunts.
Stunts. Thank you. I'm operating on like 4 hours of sleep, so my brain's not quite.
I don't even have survival stunts on my cheat sheet.
Yeah, it's basically it's
there
impress
it is.
somebody, give a success to another PC, or just bank a +1 modifier.
Right. Give +1 or give 1 to a piece in the same trouble, which doesn't apply. So I guess just +1 to later related skill rolls.
Yeah, so you got 2 of those. All right, very good. So
You didn't want to impress the other Doc? All right.
using Apollo's sensors, you are able to determine the affected area. It was on the back shoulder of Rudy's spacesuit, and whatever it is, you cannot see it with the naked eye. It's clearly microscopic. very carefully cut out a small section of the exterior part of the spacesuit, compromising the armor but not compromising the suit itself. That'll be something that Dwayne will have to repair later on. And then you take that sample and you get it into an hermetically sealed envelope or pouch or jar or something along those lines. And then at that point, you're ready for decon. So, all right. So let's do this. Is there? I don't know if there's much reason for everyone to hang out down on the bottom level of the ship. So I think we're just all on the top level.
Yeah, I don't know how long it took me to secure the cryopod so that it can't shift in flight.
Oh, a turn. Not that big a deal. 5-10 minutes.
All right. Well, I did
probably
that.
to secure that as well as the
power loader.
Power loader. Yep.
Can't have stuff flopping around while you're flying around.
So we need to review some footage, and we need to count this money.
No, I was just about to add
Monet.
What's the percentage of? I mean, where are we with finishing the survey of this particular area?
I mean, at this point where this system is concerned, your survey would be considered complete. The bigger issue is that your contract calls for you to report anomalies, abnormalities, or major fines directly to the UA immediately, which unfortunately, like as you already know, there's no network connectivity, so that pretty much would have you just going straight back to Arcturus to report directly.
Well, I would ask Rudy, do you see any more purpose of staying here, or should we follow the directive and go report this?
I think I'd like to see what's on those video files before we leave, in case it reveals something important.
Well, how long do we think it'll take to review those files? Because
no idea.
We could spend some time doing it, but we could leave orbit and spend some time moving away from the gravity well before we go FTL.
What's your ship's
review
FTL
everything
day?
that way.
What's your ship's FTL ability? What's the FTL speed? 6?
It is 6.
Yeah, so you guys have a pretty fast FTL drive as well. So, if you look at it from that standpoint, if you guys were to leave planet, spend 2 shifts, under conventional thrust, with an FTL of 6, you guys can stay out of cryo for up to 6 days before you have to go into cryo to avoid ill effects. So, just giving you an idea of the mechanics there. If you wanted to leave and review footage while en route before going into cryo, you could do that for up to 6 days.
And the other thought is, I mean, if this does fall under some kind of salvage law, I mean, we should just grab that APC. That thing is probably
absolutely.
Huge
yeah. I'm guessing that we could probably decontaminate something that big. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I would say you could. Wayne could certainly figure out a way to make that happen.
We take 2 of us go with Dwayne, so 3 of us total go out there.
Well,
just another question: how much fuel are we going to burn up launching, and then we might have to come back? So I'm all for finishing up here before we head off.
I agree, but I do suggest. I'm no lawyer, so I suggest somebody poke through the regs on the computer.
I imagine Rudy, as a career officer, probably is pretty well versed in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she knows what the.
So I would say, legally speaking, Rudy, you would know that with there actually being a survivor, and this clearly being a UPP colony, and there is a survivor, you guys really couldn't legally lay claim to anything that was here. Now, of course, what people don't know. But in terms of the legality of it, yeah, you really couldn't lay claim to it from the standpoint, in terms of an upfront legal situation. So that's your call, what you want to do there.
What's your alignment, Rudy?
Well, this is something that we need to vote on. I think, because this crosses a line. So if we're worried about that, I mean, we do have a survivor on board. So
We do, and we're commercial vessel, private contractor, but we're still, I'm sure, bound to international law. I mean, with stealing this stuff, which it is,
I mean,
she doesn't
we've
expire.
got a bag of their cash already.
Yeah,
We've
do.
already got the power loader already. So you can either look at it as we're already into this,
assisting recovery of essential equipment.
I consider
it's a dangerous environment.
I consider the power loader in particular to be a gray area because it's either a knockoff or it could be a Caterpillar that's been repainted and remarked. I could scrape some paint off and do some investigation, and if it's not a UPP device, that means they appropriated it from somebody. So we're just going to appropriate it back.
Or maybe it's just it's sort of like a Chinese market of it's like a gray market of.
Well, kind of like your AK. Your AK is definitely a gray market weapon, whereas the AK that Dwayne has that you guys took off this colony actually has a serial number on it, a UPP serial number and stuff like that.
I'm sure their vehicle can be accounted for. Their cash might be illicit. They might not want to. I mean, they might come after us for the cash too.
Let me ask. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but what's this current state of conflict between UPP and
undeclared war? You guys, right now, there is a conflict going on known as the Frontier War. You know that the UPP and the UA have had a number of clashes. There have been some direct conflicts recently on the colony of Anisadora, which was on the planet Pandora, which was actually an independent colony. It was an ICSC colony that the UPP invaded. Wayland Yutani called for the USCMC for help because they had substantial facilities there. And what ended up happening is the USCMC came in, landed, repelled the invasion at the Morgan's Bluff spaceport and on the colony itself, and then the colony basically became a UA colony at that point. So the UA and the UPP are not in a full-blown war, especially if you get into the core systems or even back on Earth. There's no conflicts happening there. That's very much a Cold War type situation. But out on the frontier, it all depends on the commanders involved at the time, if that makes sense.
Well,
just one more question. I was just, are we registered with the UA? I mean, as a ship's registry?
You are registered with the Interstellar Commerce Commission as an SS, which is just an independent starship. Yeah. It just happens your contracts with UA.
So, my history with the UPP, I told you that history, so I've got no lost for those guys, but I don't think a power loader nor the cash will necessarily be missed. Something as big as the Ox might be missed if the UPP comes back to this colony to see what happened. So much as I don't necessarily mind a dust up with the UPP, I don't necessarily want them after us. I'd say let's keep the power loader. Let's keep the cash. Let's get this survivor back to Arcturus and turn the survivor over to the UA and all the data according to our contract, but then have them contact the UPP to tell them what was found. Maybe they can even keep our name out of it.
Well, I think I'm making this up, but it seems like if you're reporting this, your name is all over it. You know.
Well, if we report it to the UA, then the question is, how much does the UA tell the UPP other than, hey, we have a survivor from your colony, and and here's the details that were found your colony. They don't necessarily have to say who found out the information or where it came from.
I just don't know if there's any way for us to control that.
Well, we can't control it.
Once we make the report, it's made.
So I let me interject here. I know when we first started, this is out of game. We decided that we're going to have an egalitarian. Is it equal shares for every person that we decided on, or does Rudy have, 10% more say than everybody else being the officer? I think that's maybe we should decide that now.
Well, I thought we had decided that we're in this even Steven. That's why I kind of assumed we didn't have much. None of us have much money because it looks like we poured our whole life savings into this enterprise. So I thought we were all in it even Steven, but what we do is we acknowledge that Rudy has commanding experience and has a lot of knowledge, and so we defer to Rudy out of respect.
We could say tiebreaker.
Yeah, I would think that
officer,
Rudy,
maybe.
It sounds to me like the way you guys are all headed is you guys on major issues, where Rudy decides you guys should vote, you guys will vote, and then if there's a tie, I would guess Rudy would break that tie. That would be my thought, but that's up to you guys.
Okay, that works for me. We just,
never really established that.
Yeah, and running a ship, it's hard to do it by committee.
True.
So yeah, if everybody's okay with that, we could do a vote, and Rudy being the tiebreaker. And this is consequential. We're rolling the dice here. If the ICC finds out we're operating outside of the salvage laws, do they pull their registration?
License, yeah.
Although,
it's important to behave legally in all aspects if possible. The reason why I bring it up, the APC, for me personally, is not so much about let's turn it over for cash. It's more about this. Would this be useful in terms of the campaign?
Right.
So, to have a survey vehicle that we could drive around as a team, is that something that...
You guys don't have a vehicle bay.
No, we don't.
You have a cargo bay, but you don't have a vehicle bay, which means you don't have a place to secure it, plug it in. You don't have a way to drive it in and out of the ship, that type of thing.
Okay, right. Well then that's done.
Sorry, it just occurred to me.
Well, and I was going to make that point here is that if we keep the loader with the premise that we needed it to load up
to affect the rescue of this woman, yeah.
Exactly, and it's a loader, it's not a large vehicle, that thing should be secured just fine, and if we keep the cash, I don't know how much we have, maybe we should count it.
Since you guys discussed it, I'll just say at some point you guys counted it. It's $50,000 UPP.
That's not a whole lot. It may not be worth risking.
It has the stink of corruption all over it, this money.
Yeah, we're talking about, to get a vehicle... that won't even get us a Class 1 vehicle bay. So, I say we just be straight up and honest, and somebody screws us over later on, we divert.
I'd be surprised if it was even missed.
And that's fine. I'm comfortable as a pilot taking the cash and the loader because we have, it's $50,000. There's not a whole lot you can buy.
Right, but $50,000 can be used for miscellaneous stuff. And
Yeah,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
as a side note, 50 grand UPP. Obviously,
what is it? $9 UA?
it's about 20 grand.
Okay.
It's about 20
Oh.
grand UA.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. So it's 50 grand UPP, so 20 grand UA. So that's
Correct.
even less consequential. It actually doesn't get you even one item on internal modules, no matter what. It doesn't even get you an air scrubber.
No, it's beer money.
Yeah.
It'll buy a lot of nap relief.
All right.
Well,
Bullets. Nap relief.
but we're going to get paid for this contract too, right? We're getting paid for this contract. So if we do it straight up, we don't have any worries and we collect
All right,
cash.
so let me ask. We have a number of things then to decide. Maybe we do it through a vote. So, Rudy, I guess you should formulate the questions that we're voting on. But one of them is, I think we have to decide for the survivor, do we contact the UPP directly to say we found their colony and we have a and everyone's dead, but we have a survivor, or do we turn the whole thing over to the UA and let them contact the UPP?
We're not diplomats. We don't have any official channels to the UPP. So I say we go through whoever hired us. And we don't speak Russian.
I vote for that.
Is there a protocol for what gets done when?
Yeah. Whatever the board says, I vote for.
Like if we found a life pod floating in space, how does that
The
happen?
ICC protocol on that would be to report to the nearest authority of any government, because that type of thing is covered under Geneva Conventions and that type of thing. So that would be the general protocol, is to report to the nearest government official.
We could argue UA in Arcturus, based on where we are.
That's a true statement, actually.
That works for me.
Works for me.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, and then
Hey guys, I'm sorry to do this. I have to step away for a couple minutes. My wife is calling my attention to something with the car.
Okay.
I gotta go check out what she's saying. I'll be right back. I'm sorry about that.
No, do what you gotta do.
hey, it took me a little while to train my wife and stepdaughter to listen to the car, to smell the car. If anything sounds different, if it smells different, if it drives different, report it immediately so we can figure out what's going on.
It's something that drives me nuts in my industry every single day. It kills me when used car managers appraise cars, or any sales manager appraise cars without getting their ass out of their chair. You gotta drive it, you gotta hear it, you gotta feel it, and if there's anything about it that seems off, you gotta stop and ask why. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's not. But anyway,
all right. Do we have any issues with keeping the cash in the power loader? I vote to keep the cash. Stick it to the UPP clowns.
Yeah, I don't know that we did a vote on it, but let's wait till Rudy gets back. But I just don't want to get the charter, the ICC registration pulled for taking something that.
Yeah, where the cache is concerned, the cache is. I would think that you guys probably know enough about the UPP to know that that's kind of questionable for a sizable amount of UPP money to be in one spot. Clearly in an individual's bag, because in day-to-day operations, UPP colonies and space stations and stuff don't use money, right? Because they run under socialist concepts. So, maybe a little more communist, depending on your point of view. But anyway, so money for them is more of an exchange to be used with a form of exchange with, other governments and trading partners and stuff like that. So,
spies, moles.
Yeah, that's right. So, the money would be kind of odd as
All
a
right.
general.
So let me, while we're waiting on Rudy, Dwayne. Rudy's. We'll just say Rudy's busy at the moment. Dwayne, I'm going to head back to the cargo bay, and I'm going to inspect the power loader. Maybe scrape some paint off here and there, and take a look at it and see, is it a knockoff or is it been an appropriated Caterpillar?
You are 90% sure that it is a manufactured knockoff. There's a couple things that aren't identical to a Caterpillar. Minute details that you wouldn't really pick up on unless you really take a moment to look at it. And it's definitely not been repainted. This is its original paint job. So
Okay.
you're pretty sure it's a knockoff.
Painted, file it, move on. It's just two small things in the inventory of a whole big base.
Yeah, and we can sort this out on the way. So we don't need to leave it here. These are small items that they probably want anyway if that planet was compromised. So, let's take off and figure this out and
Okay.
see how it develops. Does that sound fine?
I suppose.
Rudy?
Any other opinions?
Sounded like everybody is in favor of taking the cash to loader and getting off the planet.
Yeah.
Done. Let's do it.
All right. So you guys, get all your shit together. So who's going where? I imagine.
Well, who's going to review the video, all that video?
So let's do this. You guys blast off, and you're leaving the atmosphere. You're heading out into space. You would probably stay in space for a shift or two before you hit FTL. So yeah, that's the footage as Roman figured out. There are 10 different cameras from around the colony. Okay. And each one's been active for about 3 months, so it's a lot of footage. So it's a question of how you want to do this and who you want to have do it and this, that, and the other thing. Roman, of course, is Roman also points out, we also have the samples that Dr. Sinclair took that we'd like to review and see what's going on there too.
All right, so you're implying that the docs will be busy looking at the samples. And our buddy Max is going to be piloting the ship, although he can put it on autopilot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a question of who wants to do
leaves a
what.
couple of us to look at it. I'm assuming that there's not any special skill set to review these other than observation, right?
Yeah, correct. So the cameras, there was one in the vehicle depot. Okay, there was one in each of the I guess you might say officers' quarters, for lack of a better word. There was one in habitation, one in the galley, one in medical, and that leaves the other 4 from on top of the wall, spaced around the colony.
All right. Well, I volunteer to spend some time looking at the video from one of the wall cameras.
Okay.
I'm just making that offer to Rudy and the Max.
Is there any way to exploit Apollo to make this process faster, maybe, since we're...
That's interesting. What's your suggestion? What's your thought?
Well, I mean, in a very basic way, we could, on some of the cameras that don't have much activity, maybe just look for motion and tag those clips so that we can review them without having to sit through
Okay.
hours of no footage.
Sure.
Is that something? And there's probably other things. Maybe if we see something, we can program it to look for that thing again, whatever that is.
Oh, and
What's Apollo's observation?
Let's see, 5. That's pretty good, right?
That's not bad. Um,
Well,
yeah.
all we're trying to do, so like really isolating what we're trying to do, is we're not doing like a forensic analysis of 10,000 hours of video. All we're
No,
trying to do is get a sense of what happened.
right.
So I mean, you could watch it on fast forward.
That's
For
true too.
99% of everything that's going on there, we don't need to know, every little detail. We just need to know when
Well,
did this start, where did this start, how does it look like, the events, somebody got infected, did they know it, or did it happen from within with no warning? Did they do something to precipitate it? We just need the broad strokes.
right. So
and
that's
I'll
why
real quick, if I can add to that, I will say this because Andy brought it up last time, so I'll have Dr. Roman bring it up again. Andy made the comment last time that in reviewing this footage, it might make the most sense to review it from the most recent and then going backwards. To get it, that seemed to have the highest probability of finding what happened here. So because he brought that up last time, I just have him bring that up again. We probably should start at the most recent footage and basically watch in reverse, if that makes sense.
To me, that's like strictly, whoever's handling the film, however they want to do it.
Well, the reason I looked at the wall footage, I offered to look at the wall footage, was my thought was I could look to see if something external possibly came into the compound by looking at the wall footage. If you guys look at the internal room footage, you can find when the first symptoms showed up on somebody. So you guys could look and see how, also compare notes and see how it might have progressed from person to person or from place to place. We don't have any footage of that livestock pen where the pigs were, do we?
Yes, one of the wall cameras covers part of that area. You can't see the pens directly, but you can see part of that area.
All right,
so if we just put like 2 people on this and just say there's 2 people working on it and this is what we get.
Sure.
We don't have to worry too much about this, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So Dwayne's gonna work on that.
We got the docs working on the samples.
Okay.
We've got our medic working on making sure the woman is taken care of adequately. Max is taking the ship into orbit. So that leaves me and Dwayne to go through the video footage.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you guys just need to move somewhere where there's a terminal to do that.
Maybe we'll do it in Apollo because we're also using Apollo to help us per Max's suggestion.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. So I'll move you two over there. Let's see. So that's Dwayne and Rudy down in Apollo. All right.
I have a banked observation success. Can I use that?
Yeah, you can. Let's do this. If you guys don't mind, let's start with the docks. You guys are over.
Okay.
Jake, you're with Mitchell over in the science lab.
Yep.
All right. So what are we checking out first?
What do we have to check?
You have samples of ash from the courtyard. You tried to take like skin samples or something along those lines from the dead blackened people in the courtyard, but as you did so, those samples kind of crumbled to ash as well. From habitation, Hold on a second. Sorry about that. I just didn't want to cough into the mic. From habitation, you've got samples from the bizarre mutant creature slash person. You took some, I would say probably some skin and some attempts at blood samples, that type of thing. You've also got, what else did you have? You took, well, and you've got the sample from the suit.
I'll start with a mutant person.
Okay. All right. So this would be I would say, because you don't know exactly what you're doing at this point, you're just kind of looking. So let's call this an observation roll. +2 because it's biology and you're a biologist, and +1 for Roman's help. All right, 1 success. So what you can pick up from that is this individual it looks like some sort of pathogen invaded their body, not too dissimilar from a virus, and perhaps communicable the same way. You don't know, because there doesn't seem to be it doesn't seem to be the pathogen. There's any surviving pathogen at this point, but it looks like this pathogen actually affected their DNA directly. And I would say with that information, Jake being the geneticist, or not Jake, but Roman being the geneticist, would probably want to make a roll with your assistance. So what's his observation? Oh, he's a geneticist, so that's 2 and 1 for you. I can't. There we go, and he had a success. So looking into that, and this probably takes a lot of time, because you guys are looking into it. You're doing tests, that type of thing. This individual's DNA, along with your terminal there in science to help you out with this individual's DNA is not 100% human anymore. It's 98.2% human. So what looks to be a pathogen actually outright rewrote segments of this individual's DNA. So that, like I said, that's going to take you a little bit of time. So I'm going to cut over to and I would say, if Jim wants to help with the reviewing footage, he could probably do it from the terminal up on in command as well.
Yeah, I was going to say I was going to be doing that as well.
Yeah, because like I said, once you get out in space, you kind of set a course and the ship's on its way, right? So Dwayne, you're looking at cameras from the walls, specifically
Yes.
the one by the animal pen, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Apollo make an observation roll, and then based on that, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Well,
So Apollo
didn't
will
see
do like a pre-screening.
Yeah, exactly. Apollo's probably running through all. You guys set some parameters for it to look for motion, that type of thing. And Apollo's doing its thing. So over the course of the shift that the doctors are working on that sample, Dwayne, why don't you? Well, let me ask you this real quick. Max and Rudy, what cameras specifically are you two trying to focus on?
I guess I'll do the med bay.
Okay, all right, that works.
And you said there was one in the vehicle bay, right?
There is one in the vehicle bay as well.
Yeah, let me. I'll focus on that one.
Okay, all right, very good. So I'm just going to go from right to left. Dwayne, make your observation roll, please, and I would like you to do it with a -2.
Okay, and do I get to then add 1 for my banked success before?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so it's -1.
Yep.
Not much chance of seeing anything with that. No.
Would you like to push the roll?
Certainly. Okay.
No dice. Literally, no dice. So, watching that camera, there's really nothing there. The angle is such that you can't really see the animal pens, and it's kind of a grainy image. The only thing that you obviously do find is about 3 days ago, the camera was blinded suddenly by a flash of light. And when it finally cleared, uh, part of the plasteel wall was gone, and you got the impression of kind of smoking ruins from out in the forest beyond it kind of beyond the camera's angle of view. But that happened about 3 days ago.
Okay.
All right. So Jim, you're watching medical, right?
No, on the vehicle bay.
Oh, you're on the vehicle bay. I'm sorry. That's right.
Yeah.
Rudy's on medical. I apologize. So,
Right.
Max, go ahead and make an observation roll. No modifiers on this. The camera inside the vehicle bay is much better quality than the one outside. It's got less interference.
God, what?
Would you like to push the roll?
Yes, please.
All right.
So let's see. Stress +1.
One success. So you're grinding through this footage, and you get to this point where you just start tapping the arrow key to speed it up a little bit, because starting from most recent maybe and going back, there's just nothing going on. Like, absolutely nothing. It's just an empty vehicle depot for day after day after day, week after week. And then finally, there's a flurry of movement, and you stop. You slow it down, and you go back to where it began. And this is what you come up with. 28 days ago, there was a man in a Colony Standard jumpsuit kind of coveralls. He was in there working on the ox. You watched as he was pulling the drive system apart and he, clearly doing maintenance, trying to get it all back together. He's obviously working on it, and all of a sudden he stopped what he was doing. He kind of lifted his head up, almost as if he's listening to something, and then he exited out the door for the vehicle depot. And you've got the timestamp, but it was roughly 28 days ago. And that's literally the last thing that happened in the vehicle depot. Prior to that, it's this same guy coming in, working on the ox, or moving the power loader, taking the power loader out, coming back in, moving stuff. But that's the last thing that happened. After he left that vehicle depot when he was working on the ox 28 days ago, he never comes back, and neither does anybody else. All right.
Okay,
And
that's interesting.
Rudy, you are watching medical, so go ahead and make your observation roll. No penalties or modifiers. A success. So, Rudy, right at 28 days ago, so same thing. There is nothing going on in medical whatsoever. Okay. Actually, that's not true. But when you first start watching it, if you're watching from end going backwards, going back in time, you actually see your own group come into the medical bay, because you guys did that on before you took the drive. Prior to that, nothing happens for days or weeks. 28 days ago, there was an altercation in the medical bay. The woman that you guys actually found in cryo comes stumbling into the medical bay, and she's supporting another woman, middle-aged, brown hair, same woman you saw on the colony logs from that one set of quarters. Okay, this it's a little hard to tell through the medical camera, or the camera in medical bay, but she doesn't look healthy. She looks like she's shaking, she's sweating, she's not doing well. She's getting that woman up onto the exam table. Okay, then coming in from command right behind them is a man, and it's the man's face that you saw from the other terminal in the other set of quarters, and he's carrying an AK-47. It looks like he gets into some sort of verbal altercation with the woman that's in your cryopod, not the woman that was laid down on the exam, and she kind of pushes him away and does she's waving her hand at behind him while she's turning to face the patient on the exam table. He puts a hand on her shoulder, spins her around, and actually makes to like throw a punch at her. She kind of ducks underneath it and actually slashes at him with something. You can't tell there was something in her hand. He backs off and goes running back through the door in command. So as you're watching, she's hovering over this person on the guy with the AK never comes back. She's hovering over this person on the exam table, and she's trying to do what she can do. Apparently, it's hard to tell because you can't really see, like you're looking at her back, and she's got this person strapped down to the table because they're going into convulsions, and then she actually the person on the table actually goes poof and like explodes into this cloud of black dust. Okay. The woman that's still there, the woman who's in your cryopod right now in your cargo bay, she continues to work in medical for about an hour or so. You see her take a sample of her own blood. You see her inject herself with something, and she goes walking through the door into command. Okay. And about 10 minutes later, she comes out that door and goes through the door to the north to the galley, and then she never comes back. Got all that?
Well, I assume she must come back at some point to freeze herself, right?
Well, no, because you found the cryopod in the galley.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So that's what you guys catch from all that.
And at what time in the chronological order was that flash?
The flash? The flash was only 2 days ago. Whereas all this happened 28 days ago.
So was the flash? That's like the explosion.
Right. That's
that
what.
Took place
Yeah,
to the
that's
north.
what you would assume it to be. Absolutely.
So somebody was still alive as of 2 days ago, because I'm assuming. Do we see on any of the other cameras them preparing an explosive device?
No. No, you definitely didn't see anything like that.
Do we have any information about what this explosion was? Where it came from?
You do not.
We have more cameras to review, though, right?
You
We've
do.
only reviewed 3.
You do.
So we've done Vehicle Depot, Med Lab, and
the
Dwayne was looking at what?
The wall camera by the pen.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we still have, there's like, 6 of them, right? No, 2 said like 10 cameras,
Yeah, there's
right?
10 total. So there's
There were
still
4 on the
more you can
walls,
look
right?
at. Yep.
All right, look, we still have time to keep reviewing, correct? With Apollo and Exo.
So that all basically everything that you all just did, including the scientists, took a shift. So so at this point, you're to the point chronologically where if you wanted to hit FTL, you could. You could just hit FTL, and you would still have up to 6 days to work before you guys have to go in cryo, before the psychological effects hit. So that's up to you guys, how you want to handle that. If you want to hit FTL now and keep working, or if you want to stay in normal space and keep working.
We could always drop out if we have to, so I say start heading back.
Okay.
So
How many?
I guess a microwave popcorn and head back to the lab.
That's right. All right. So we'll we'll cut over to the docks. What's the next move, Jake?
Sorry, say again?
What do you want to look at next? Which sample?
Probably suit sample.
Suit sample? All right. All right, very good. Let's make an observation roll. And you know it's biological, so total of +3, 2 for your science and 1 for Dr. Roman. And I am on the wrong screen. There we go. Woo! 3 successes. 3 successes. So you are able to find a microbe. It is unlike anything you've ever seen before, and you are probably going to want to have Roman do some looking because it is definitely biological. It is like I said, it's like nothing you've ever seen before, and unfortunately, you don't have very much of it. So you're going to be limited on on how much actual sciencing you can do, if that makes sense. But it's definitely biological, and it definitely has the makings of something similar to a virus. You're not sure that it's alive. What do you want to do with your stunts? What do observation stunts let you do? They let you ask a couple of questions, I think.
Yep. Are there more of them close by, and is it coming for me?
There is no more of it. There is no more of it that you can see. It's just this very tiny little sample. Is it coming for me?
I'm joking.
Okay. Okay, what do you want to do?
Probably how do I get away from it? So how do I survive it or avoid it would probably be accurate, yeah?
Okay. It's almost like I said, it's almost a virus, but you think it looks almost like a virus. I think in larger amounts it would appear more like a liquid or a viscous substance. Any type of hazmat gear, spacesuits, pressure suits, that type of thing, with their own internal air supply should protect you from it, or for that matter, even a sealed air system inside a ship with its own air scrubbers. So you are safe from it as it stands. I don't think you. I get the impression that you wouldn't want to directly expose anything to it. Of course, you're not sure what would happen if you would.
Hey, Dwayne, come here for a minute.
I don't think Dwayne is interested.
Done. Something popped up.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I had to deal with something that popped up on my screen. Okay, I'm sorry. Take me back. What am I?
I said you don't think it's something that you would want to expose yourself to, or you're not sure what it would do if you exposed a living thing to it. And then he said, "Hey, Dwayne, come here a minute."
No.
Oh,
Smart.
look at the big brain on Roman. He also had 2 successes.
Wow.
So he's going to. What are the observation stunts? I know it's the questions, but I can't seem to. I'm having a moment where I can't locate what I'm looking for.
The quick sheet I've got for observation says, is it coming for me? Are there more of them close by? How do I get in fast away?
And that's it. That's all it is.
Yeah. To be honest, maybe use some other things.
You know what? Roman's got analysis, so I'll use his analysis talent because it's tied to observation. How about that? There we go. Do you have analysis as well, Jake?
Good question. Yep, I've got analysis and breakthrough.
Okay. Oh, and breakthrough, so you can push wits twice, can't you? Um,
Yeah, breakthrough once per game session automatically pass observation.
oh, that's what that is. So why don't we do this? Why don't we retcon this and say that that was an analysis role, because that's what it would stand for. So look at your analysis talent, because there's a list of questions you can ask there.
Um, just need to open the book to get analysis questions.
So you have 3 successes, so you can ask 3 of those questions. It's on page 77 of the book.
I guess the first one is it human or alien?
It is definitely alien.
Get shivers down my spine, Sinclair.
That's right up your alley, isn't it?
Yep. And what is its purpose and how does it work?
It's hard to tell exactly what its purpose is, but between you and Roman looking at it, because he has 2 successes on his roll as well, so I will just come out with it all at one time. It's definitely alien, and while it seems to act as it's some sort of genetic mutagen. It looks like how it works. It looks like living animal cells exposed to it. It will invade them like a virus, but then it starts to rewrite their DNA to cause other things to happen. Is it a life form in and of itself? No. Yes. Not sure. It it does it doesn't seem to qualify as life as you guys know it, but it certainly seems to have this invading of a cell and rewriting its DNA. It certainly seems to be a purpose, almost as if it's specifically programmed or designed to do such a thing. Um, which leads to the obvious of what problems could it cause? Well, you don't want to expose a human being to it. You have a feeling that that's probably what you saw on the planet is probably the results of such exposure.
Cool.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go back to the camera crew. Um, Rudy, which camera are you going to be looking at? There's several wall cameras left. There's the let me get this straight. There is um, there's a mess camera. There's a habitation camera. There's 3 wall cameras left, and then there's the
Here,
2
I'll just
cameras.
make it easy on you. Mess camera's fine.
Okay, thank you. um, Max.
Habitation.
Habitation. All right, Dwayne.
Is there a camera specifically on that northeast side where we saw the crater?
Well, that was the same camera that covered the animal pens.
Okay, so I'll just pick one of the other wall cameras.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's do this then. I'm going to have Apollo make its observation roll to see if it can just pre-screen and flag anything for you guys. Hey, Apollo did something. Look at that. All right. So Rudy, you're looking at the galley. There's not much to see here. It's much like the other cameras that you've seen, in that if you're starting at the most recent and going back, the first thing you saw was your team coming into the galley, the mess area, and discovering the cryopod. Beyond that, you go back weeks before you find the lady that's in the cryopod actually coming into the galley and closing herself into, she taps on the interface panel on it, then she climbs in and closes it behind her. Prior to that, you go back a few hours, and there was somebody, just some guy, just sitting in the galley. It looks like he was probably drinking a cup of coffee, eating a prefab meal, and he stopped what he was doing for a moment. He has his cup of coffee in one hand, his Pop Tart in the other, and he stops what he's doing for a second. He's just kind of doing this thing, and then he goes and he puts it down on the table, and he gets up and leaves. And then prior to that, it's kind of normal happenings. People coming in here, they're eating breakfast, that type of thing, or lunch, dinner, or having a meal, as it were. Prior to that, 30 days ago or so, it's just normal stuff you would expect to see in the mess hall of a colony. Nothing really that.
So is that guy getting up, interrupting his meal? Is that 28 days ago?
28 days ago. Yep. Okay. It was about 6 or 8 hours before the woman from medical closed herself in the cryopod.
How many hours did you say?
6 or 7.
So something happened, right? And was it 28 days ago that we saw in medical the woman in the cryopod bringing the afflicted
correct
person? So 28
correct.
days ago, some bad shit happened.
Yep.
And 6 hours later, the doctor's already putting herself in the cryopod.
You got it.
So this went down real fast.
Yep.
But the blast was only 2 days ago, you said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple days ago.
All right. Very good. Jim, Apollo made it easy for you. You were looking at habitation.
Correct.
Okay, so habitation was pretty straightforward about, the timestamp. 28 days ago, the first thing that you see going in reverse is the guy that was actually in the vehicle depot working on the Ox. He is coming into habitation. He has a bolt gun in one hand, and he is supporting another man. It's hard to see on the camera, but this man doesn't look good. He looks ill. He's stumbling, that type of thing. He kind of just sets him down on the floor for a moment, and then he leaves the view of the camera. It looks like he possibly went back outside into the courtyard. He comes back a moment later, and or a few minutes later, and in that time, you physically watched as this person, there's no sound, but it looks like they were screaming in pain. Then they doubled over in a fetal position and were convulsing. And this individual, you physically watched them change. Their skin turned translucent. Their eyes kind of peeled over gray. You actually physically watched the head elongate and change. Gain a point of stress for having watched that transformation. When the guy comes back in from the courtyard, this individual who's no longer a person just physically attacks him. The guy with the bolt gun kind of beats him back for a moment, knocks him off, fires his bolt gun and misses. Then the guy, then the creature, as it were, while he reloads his bolt gun, the creature jumps on him and lands on his chest. Tries to beat him again. The guy breaks free. The creature vomits black stuff all over him.
Yeah.
He raises the bolt gun and fires and puts the round right between the creature's eyes, or right in its forehead, and it falls down dead. But this guy very quickly, he's looking down at what used to be probably his friend, and he's visibly upset, but all of a sudden he starts going into convulsions. He starts to stagger and sway on his feet. He falls down. His skin starts to just turn black right before your eyes. And then he just stops moving. Gain another point of stress.
Okay. And I call. Let me see. I think I'll call the Dr. Sinclair. I'm going to call him to the bridge to review the footage along with Rudy.
Okay. Yep. And we'll do that momentarily. And prior to that in habitation, it was just normal habitation stuff, right? People coming in, going to bed, waking up, getting dressed. Nothing really that you would expect out of a colony. So Dwayne, really quickly, you're looking at one of the cameras that is facing. That you're actually looking at. I made a random roll, and you're actually looking at the camera that is on top of command, facing across the courtyard. Okay, and it's on a 360 swivel.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you what Apollo flagged for you, but I'd like you to make an observation roll at a -2.
Oh, okay. Little chance of seeing anything. Oh man!
Wow, that's amazing.
Dude, you're on fire today, man. That's crazy.
Wow.
So what Apollo flagged for you happened 28 days ago. But as you were reversing to that point, you thought you saw something else and you stopped. Just a flurry of movement. And you went back. It happened about 2 days ago. You're really not sure what it was. But it was as if something passed in front of the camera while it was panning around. And as it was panning from to the northeast where the animal pen area is, and it was panning left counterclockwise, back over towards the center square. There was just a momentary shadow of movement that passed right in front of the camera.
And the camera's up on top of command.
Correct.
Okay.
But reviewing it, there's nothing there. But it doesn't change the fact that you saw it. And it just reminds you of something that you seem to remember, a feeling you once had. So you can gain a point of stress for that. Meanwhile, what Apollo flagged happened 28 days ago. And what happened was people started coming out of habitation. A guy came out of the vehicle depot. A couple people out of command. And there were it's hard to tell with the angle, but there's probably a good dozen people that are actually standing in the courtyard, and a few people came from outside the colony main gate, probably out tending the vegetable garden or what have you, and everyone was standing in the center square of the colony, and everybody was looking up. Okay? And you can't see what they're looking at because the camera's not panning up. It's just panning around. But everybody standing in the center square was looking up. And again, with the quality of the exterior camera, it's a little hard to tell. But all of a sudden, a rain of some sort started to fall. But it wasn't rain. As it falls in greater quantities, you get the sense that it's a black rain, and you've certainly never seen black rain on any planet. because rain comes from water vapor, and it's just not a black liquid. This looks more like oil. And as it strikes the people looking up, they have different reactions. A couple, like the guy with the AK-47, turns around to head probably back into command like right away. The woman that you guys saw on the medical camera, who puffed up in black dust, she also turns and tries to head away from it, and she's actually calling for other people to do so. Some of these people, as they're hit by it, they stand for a moment and they begin to scream, either in pain or fear, you're not sure, and some of them just seem to disintegrate before your eyes into a black ash. Others,
dude, I'm getting a point of stress in real life. This is horrible.
Others seem to get out of it and get away to go inside somewhere, and then there's several others that, while they don't seem to just vaporize or atomize or disintegrate or whatever the word is, they do seem to be in pain or agony as they start to go into convulsions, and their flesh just turns black, into the forms that you saw when you guys arrived at the colony. When it's all over, there's nothing left living, and it doesn't take long. It's a matter of minutes. There's nothing left living in that colony square, and the black rain stops, and as quickly as it began, as quickly as it showed up, because when it rains, there's puddles left over, that type of thing. It all just seems to vaporize. Just seems to vaporize just right as it sits there, as if it has such a low boiling point that it just turned to vapor and disappeared. And I definitely think that's worth another point of stress, seeing that fun happen. And last but not least, make a wits roll, Dwayne. Just a straight wits, ignore your stress. Okay, so nothing. Well, let's do this. The docs doing their work in science, I imagine you guys are probably to the point of where you kind of would all get back together and review what you know.
I agree.
Because one of you, it may have been Rudy, I can't remember if it was you or Rudy or Jim or Max, made the comment of calling the scientists up to show them what they saw. But are we kind of to that point where we pull everybody back together and everyone shares everything they know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. I think so.
Yep.
And including showing everybody some of the snippets of the video that...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We're going to share in the stress and everything. So we'll pull everybody to command, which... everyone's going to gain stress sharing all the information and sharing snippets of video and all that, but in the end it really doesn't matter that much because you guys are on ship, so you're definitely in what you would consider to be a safe place. So everyone can kind of kill the stress. I'm okay with that. I'm missing a character. Who am I missing?
Vickers?
No, Vickers is there. Is it Roman? Am I missing Mitchell Roman? Yeah, I was missing Roman.
Okay.
All right, so everybody, the very small icons, Roman and Dunning, look very similar. So, so you guys review everything with each other, so everybody knows everything that I narrated off. Dwayne, you already did this. I would like the other characters to all do a straight wits roll, ignoring any stress you may have. And I'll roll for Roman and Vickers. Okay.
Wow.
Roman, Rudy, and who am I missing?
Oh,
Jake. Straight
yeah,
wits.
we got rid of our stress, right? I
Yeah.
accidentally rolled
Yeah,
it
you
with.
can ditch your stress. I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Oh, there it is. It was up top. I didn't see it. I'm sorry. Okay. So, Rudy, as you guys review probably the footage with the black rain, um, there, it's really striking you, and Dr. Mitchell Roman is having the same thought. Um, it's reminding you of some things you've been hearing about out on the frontier. Something called the Black Bombings. It started. It started with the 61 Cygni system, which was really the beginning of the Frontier War. UPP annexing a system that was technically not in UA space yet was a UA colony. And the rumor was that the UPP unleashed some sort of bioweapon on that planet, on that colony, eliminating pretty much everybody. Um, the UPP actually accused the UA of using bioweapons at 61 Cygni. And in fact, there had been a few other colonies that had been bombed in such a way, or attacked in such a way with some sort of unknown bioweapon, and survivors had come to call them the Black Bombers, whoever was doing it. UA says is accusing UPP, UPP accuses UA. But that's what this strikes you as. You've not seen the black bombings yourselves, obviously, because if you had, you'd probably be dead. But this certainly seems to be the way it's been described by what few survivors or rumor mills are out there.
All right, so this is way worse than we thought, guys. We'll share my insights with the group.
Is there a way to contact UA without going all the way back to Arcturus? And I know we don't have a network at the planet we just left, but
Not really. Your ship would make it there before the signal would.
that's true. We're six times light. So now that we know kind of what's going on here, what can we do to ensure the safety of everyone if we go into cryo and we've got that cryo box sitting in cargo? Is there any way to open those from the inside?
No, and Vickers would probably speak on that, being the medic. Yeah, I mean there's no way for someone who's in cryo to come out of cryo. I mean their heart rate is a beat per minute. That is, and a cryo crate is probably not the best way to transport a human being. But regardless, there's no way she's getting out of that on her own. Someone's got to wake her up from outside.
Is there any chance at all that some kind of that transformation can happen while they're in cryo? Is there a way to determine that? The transformation we saw.
You know,
Biologists probably know that, maybe, or making inference. Or...
yeah. I would say that Jake, you and Roman Mitchell, Dr. Roman. He keeps throwing me off because I look at his name, Mitchell Roman, and if for some reason it strikes me as either two first names or two last names, and I guess that's I don't know why, but anyway, you guys, everything that you've seen, I would say at this point, Jake, there's little doubt in your mind that this sample you got off of Rudy's spacesuit, this this genetic mutagen, it certainly seems what you guys have inferred as its behavior certainly seems to match what you saw on the monitor in terms of the people in the courtyard when they were hit by the black rain. Those two things seem to go along together, and I think Mitchell, Dr. Roman, is very much in agreement with that. That without more data, it's hard to be sure, but that certainly seems to match. Roman has an additional insight on that this chemical, whatever it is, it seems almost to have been programmed to react this way, specifically to animal biology. From a genetic standpoint. So he's kind of wondering if there's a possibility it couldn't be programmed to do other things. The medical applications are tremendous. So he kind of has that insight from the standpoint of the direct question that Max asked. From what you could see on the cameras, that transformation took hours, and you're not sure if she would transform to that mutated state like the one you saw in Habitation that started attacking the Roughneck, or if she would transform to the state of the lady who was in the med bay who just poofed up into black ash. You're really not sure what direction that would go, but I mean, considering that's over the case of a course of hours and she's in cryo, I mean, it might happen while she was in cryo, but it would probably take months, if not years.
Okay, that makes me feel better. How long are we in hypersleep to get back to Arcturus?
It's a
5 parsecs.
Yeah, it's a 30-day FTL travel.
All right, so that's on the low end for that estimate. Can the box be secured? We only have one airlock. Is that correct?
You have two. You have two back in the cargo bay. Yep. One of them has a docking umbilicus. I believe it's the starboard side airlock has a docking umbilicus. The other one is just an airlock.
Just an airlock. Would it be safe to secure the cryo box in the airlock so that if something does happen and when we wake up, we can always just eject it? Or
I don't see why not.
Doesn't compromise safety of the ship or anything, right?
No. As a pilot, I don't think that would worry you.
All right. Well, that's what as the pilot, I would say we should do that if we're going to keep this thing on board, just as an extra measure, and we can probably go to the freezers, wake up on the other side if the doctors think that they've finished their analysis.
Well, we've got I think we might have some issues to decide on too. Like, what are we going to do with this girl here? I mean, we have to turn her over to somebody. But as soon as we do, we're on the radar with this black rain thing. And by that I mean, who knows what the hell this is all about? Who knows who's behind it? Now we actually have documentation that it's a real phenomenon. We have samples of it. We have a survivor of it.
We got the complete package. Well, except for a vial of whatever this stuff is.
I guess what I'm saying is let's just say that this is an actual bioweapon being used by somebody. Like, now we're witnesses. Now we're outing them. And who knows that we haven't been hired to this planet purposefully to discover this, to reveal this. I don't know, man. I just think it stinks. And we're holding the bag now. So
Well, what are our available options? I mean, if you want to inject her into space,
straight. We could play it straight.
Yeah.
Or we could try to minimize our exposure somehow. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm just thinking out loud.
Well, let's consider the fact that this was done to a UPP settlement, so it's possible that the UA did it, but we're under contract by the UA to go look for systems. It's unlikely they'd want us to discover this and out them.
Well,
It's
why
probably,
were we?
it's probably
Why
not.
were we diverted?
What's that?
Why were we diverted?
Oh,
And
we
who-
were diverted because we found a suitable M-class planet. That's what we were looking for, is to survey star systems for suitable planets for possible colonization or exploitation by the UA.
Yeah, Apollo had, you guys were in the proper sector that you were supposed to be in, Sector 82. Apollo specifically sent you to Alpha Casea because of all the systems within range. It determined that it had the highest probability of a life viable planet.
I'm just thinking, civilians send us there. Chances are good that this, civilian authorities and the military don't talk. So, I mean, bureaucracies and stuff. So they might not even know that we went to a place where we shouldn't have.
It's a possibility. I think we're dealing with something that might be new, because the UPP colony certainly, well, who knows? The UPP military could have used them as guinea pigs for tests, so it could be them too. Who knows? But we certainly can't sit on it. So we've got two choices. Either we turn it over to if we turn it over to the UA government, it'll be up to them to decide which part of the government, the public or the military sector, take control of the information. On the other hand, if we make the information available to agencies outside the government, then it could basically, if we provided this information, say, to news organizations or independent scientific organizations, then the information would be outed to the public.
I second that.
I really like this idea. I think this is a way of us walking this fine line so that we're not just sitting out here basically exposed to whatever consequences there are from here without somebody being aware. Like if it's out, right? It's not just us.
Do we want to do this in a way that is triggered by an event? Out of game, a la Stranger Things season 3 or 2 or whichever one it was, with the notifying news agencies on a push of a button when we think the government's going south with the information? Or do we... I'm conflicted here because this is our bread and butter, and who's going to want to hire us if we go running to the press after we find something that might be proprietary info to the person that hired us?
Well, there is that.
Well, is there... So
what obligation do we have to give it to the news organizations other than we think that it might be really bad? And,
well, it's simply a moral obligation.
Well, as far as
says the guy who said,
secrets,
"Let's take the power loader."
Yeah.
Well, we're a
if we're looking
scientific
at
vessel, so I mean,
we're a
go ahead.
scientific vessel, so we have that as a vested interest in sharing information. Also, we're freelancers under contract by the UA to survey planets, right? Like this was a UPP colony.
But is it a
So
UPP planet?
I think isn't it just an unclaimed planet, sort of?
Well, based on the star map, it's an unclaimed space. You know, it is 4 parsecs past the frontier, and in an area of space that the UPP doesn't even have, colonies in.
So if anything, I feel like we're not really stepping on our employer's toes if we reveal. We're stepping on the UPP's toes. Like they're the ones that might be pissed off, but we're not really in a position where we owe them or have a contract with them or any other kind of liaison. I mean, maybe we could contact them and see if they'd pay us to shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah, right.
I like Max's suggestion. First of all, our contract is with UA, so we need to report to UA what we found in the system for our normal survey. Second, and when I say UA, I mean a scientific sector of the government. Okay, so a scientific sector of the government. We also explain what we found, because a health organization or some such needs to take control of these samples and everything that they found. Also, the person in cryo, although a UPP citizen and therefore normally would be turned over to a diplomatic function, they're also infected, which means that they should be quarantined by a medical function somehow. Certainly not taken out of cryo. That's all for them to decide. But the moment we think that UA military comes in and swoops up all the information and clamps down on everybody, maybe we should be prepared to transmit files with information to an outside source.
Well, by that time, we might already be dead. I would rather just throw everything out there, and then they've got no reason to touch it.
What about instead of the press sending it to if one of the doctors has a close colleague in his previous scientific experience that might be, in other words, send it to a scientist instead of the press.
This is exactly what I was thinking.
There are independent scientific organizations, societies and whatnot. We could send it to them. Certainly, the press isn't necessary, but we could. I like the idea of sending it to an independent scientific organization or scientists.
Do any of the scientists have affiliations with that and that are on board?
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I would expect that they should. I'm going out of game. In my professional career, I was associated with 3 or 4 different professional associations.
Yeah, everyone has colleagues.
If we send it to somebody we can trust and say, sit on this for a minute. If anything
But
happens to us, then
you got to understand too that whatever this is, we're going to be exposing them to potential danger. So it would have to be somebody that would be, I guess, think along the same lines as us, or they'll be like, why the hell are you showing me this? I don't want any part of whoever's going to be coming after this information. That's what be.
Well,
It's obviously huge because based on the video that we saw.
We do have that issue that even if this was not a military operation by the UA military, for example, that we would be accused of starting a widespread panic across multiple star systems. So there's that.
Of course, another option that's on the table we haven't talked about yet is to just go running to the UA, like, play it straight.
Yeah.
We
And
found
then,
this,
they disappear us.
What was that, Bob? You broke up on my end.
And then they disappear us.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
That's exactly what I thought too.
That was my first thought too, is that we're in a precarious position, but there's an assumption there that the UA is responsible.
Well, even if they aren't, if they want to keep the information quiet, they would disappear us. Also, do you really want to take that risk? I would just send it to the media anonymously, so it's out there, and nobody can hush anybody. Even if you send it to scientific societies, if the military hears about it, they can quiet them down. The media will do their best not to be quiet.
Roman kind of pipes up and says, well, isn't the media basically controlled by Weyland-Yutani and the mega corporations and the governments anyway?
So send it to a scientific brain trust with the ostensible purpose that we're requesting their assistance in identifying this pathogen that we've discovered out here. And then if it gets out, which it will,
someone like the Gahulagad Institute.
Yeah, some public brain trust, which of course they're not going to be able to hide the information. They're going to share the information. We'll be able to say that we sent it out for assistance. We didn't send it out, for it to get out. We sent it out because we need help figuring this out. We have a victim on board that we need help with immediately. It gives us kind of a reason for why we threw it out there, and nobody at the receiving end can really be like, they're not going to go in and wipe out this scientific organization. It's like too late. It's out. I'm trying to figure out like what would be like the least damaging way for us to, because it's slightly unprofessional, right? If we like discover something under contract and send it out to the news right away, it's a little bit like, well, what are you guys fucking doing? You can't be trusted.
Right, and okay, so let's slow walk this from right now. We've got the information that we need. We need to go to cryosleep to finish the journey. Not anytime soon, but we need to do that. We come out of FTL. We're going to be some distance away from, I'm guessing, a space station, or are we doing?
Where are we going anyway right now? What's our destination? Arcturus. Okay, which is okay, because we do have this victim that needs immediate assistance. I mean, we can't just like do like the Raiders of the Lost Ark and just take.
But we also have a Class D shuttle. Never a good idea to split the party, except when it is. When we approach when we approach Arcturus in that system, we come out early, dump a couple of us into the shuttle to wait for standby that it's all clear to rejoin the main ship. And if something goes awry, at least we've got two members that are in a position to do something besides be taken into custody.
They could have copies of a lot of the information and files and data and video that unless they get the all clear, they give to somebody.
The only thing I will point out about that is that your ship is registered with the Interstellar Commerce Commission, so it's common knowledge, your ship and crew. So keep that in mind. And it'll be obvious that you're missing your shuttle.
Right.
Just adding that point to you.
As much as I hate to say it, it might just be worthwhile to sell the information to Weyland and get it over with. Because then a big corporation has it, they can stand up to the military or whoever. The information is out there, they won't be interested in us anymore, and we're off the hook.
All right, so let me ask a point of clarification. Our contract with UA is with which particular agency in particular?
United America's Colonial Administration.
So is it with is it with a that's a broad term, colonial administration.
Yeah, I don't think they're a military per se. They have the colonial Marines attached to them, but they're a civilian administration, from my understanding, right?
Correct. That's exactly correct. They have both the Colonial Marshal's office attached to them, and the Colonial Marines are kind of a lateral organization. They don't work for colonial admin, but they're governed under the Colonial Protection Act to protect UA's colonies and work with colonial admin whenever necessary.
Okay.
They don't directly answer to to colonial admin by any means.
I don't know. I mean, in character, I would have to, you know, I'm trying not to game this, so I think in character, since we are pretty new, I'm guessing we're pretty new as operating as a crew doing this kind of work. Would we really want to? I mean, I guess what are our motivations here? To stay safe, right? And do we distrust the UA enough to start doing all these things that we're talking about as a character, right?
Well, I would think we currently distrust our governments enough, so imagine that day and age.
Well, there's
Well,
that, of course.
Rudy has character reasons for not wanting to garner unwanted attention from corporations or the government. She doesn't trust them. She doesn't want them. That's why she's out here on the frontier. She doesn't
Right.
really want to be like in the spotlight. So anything that involves, making a splash, she would not favor that idea.
Okay.
But regardless, this is going to make a splash. We have to turn over, as a minimum, we have to turn over this individual to the UA so that they can contact the UPP. And she's infected, which means it's going to involve medical divisions. And anyway, it's going to make some kind of splash, whether we like it or not. This is outrageous stuff. This is something none of us have ever even heard of before.
So the smallest splash is selling this to Weyland-Yutani and have them deal with everything.
But if you're worried about potential backlash, like getting whacked from the UA for spilling the beans, there's no more of a likely villain for that scenario than Weyland-Yutani, right? Like they don't even have to be responsible for them wanting to silence you. They just have to see a profit interest in what you're offering them to want to kill you, right? Like if you're offering them the greatest DNA altering technology ever heard of, they'll whack you just because they want to corner the market,
Well, we sell them the data, we sign an NDA, and it should be good. I mean, this kind of thing happens all the time. Scientists sell their ideas and copyright and kind of patents and all that kind of stuff. The law is all there, all good.
What's the Three Worlds Empire? I know I keep asking you. I got to finish reading these books, but there's the UPP UA, and then there's the TWE.
Yeah,
what if we?
And there's also the ICSC, which is the Independent Colony Core Systems. Which, when you look at the star map, the red is obviously UPP, blue is UA, green is 3WE, the yellow is the ICSC. And ICSC is a relatively new thing. They're colonies that were originally settled by one of the other governments that have just decided, you know what, we're not part of any of you. And they've kind of created their own, for lack of a better word, they've created their own confederation. They come together in terms of mutual defense to some extent, but at the same time they don't govern each other or have any major government they answer to.
I kind of looking toward Bob's. The simplest way to kind of get through this is just go straight ahead and give it over. But
But also remember, we've got a big loan on our hands. We sell this to Wayland Yutani. Our loan is gone. Our loan is sorted. We can
well,
truly
it,
independent.
but this is just. I mean, this information might be part of the contract of anything that is on world belongs to Wayland Yutani. We can't upsell this, right? This is part of the survey.
Well, our contract is with UA.
Or I mean UA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, UA.
It's yeah.
And this is just one stop. This is a longer term contract.
Yeah.
We get paid over and over and over again. We don't want to do anything that cancels the contract.
Right.
But why not? We will be rich beyond words. This is an alien genetic modifying item. We can basically retire after selling this to Wayland. Also, this seems to have come from offsite and got dropped here, so I can't see that it's part of the server. And
All right.
in this scenario, Wayland and our employer can fight it out in the courts after we got paid.
I can't help but feeling like there's a lot of assumptions in that line of argument, and I also kind of feel like it ignores.
There's a lot of assumptions in anything that we do now.
It also ignores the ethical ramifications of selling this to a corporation.
Roman kind of chimes in at this point. He goes, I think all these arguments are valid, and there's definitely some validity to what we're all saying, and but there's something else that I'd like to point out that maybe we're all losing sight of. What we have just caught a glimpse of is something that can change everything from the standpoint of medical technology and bioengineering. And we could use, with more information, with the right resources, this could be used to enormous benefit. Enormous profit, sure, of course, but enormous benefit. And I don't know that I trust Wayland Yutani or the UA or the UPP or any government to operate it from that standpoint. Maybe they go down years of research and determine a way for this genetic accelerant, for lack of a better word, to cure major medical and genetic diseases, major congenital diseases, or we're finding new illnesses out on the frontier every year. But at what cost? I mean, who's going to be able to afford Wayland Yutani's tab to pay for that? This is something that we could really bring to mankind to help people if it's in the right hands with the proper research.
And die poor and hungry.
You're going to die anyway.
I'd rather die fat and comfortable.
I mean, so that brings up, oh man, we got too many. This is going in too many directions, because that would suppose that we issue all the plans and go to a scientific organization that we could hand this to as a benefit for mankind. But I don't know.
Vickers pipes in. Well, what are we required to do for our contract? Specifically, what do we need to do for that? Because I think that's, I mean, we have to keep that in mind, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would think just like standard survey contracts. I mean, at a minimum, just turn over any data that we collected for the star system. But under ICSC, we also have the additional obligation for if we didn't have the girl in the cryo box, we'd have more options here. But
Well, and I
Or
think it's
we'd have
important.
less in a way, which would make it a lot easier.
Well, I think
And
well,
it's
it's one of
right.
those. It's one of those. Hey, GM, let us know what our contract says, please.
yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Your contract specifically states is obviously your requirements are to survey, um, report any viable planets that are suitable for colonization. Additional features those systems may have from a standpoint of mining opportunities, that type of thing, and also immediately report any anomalies or abnormalities, and this type of thing would certainly qualify under that, right? Because it's a UPP colony in a place where no one should have a colony. 5 parsecs from the frontier, nowhere near UPP space. Um,
And
What does it say in terms of protecting information? What's considered
uh,
protected information that we can't
it
disclose?
it just simply states that you're to turn over to the UA all data from your survey. I mean,
and
that's
then
it's very general, which is possibly on one hand helpful, but on the other hand maddeningly not helpful.
but is it handover and is it exclusive or not?
Yeah, any information is going to be any information or data is expected to be exclusive to the UA.
I'm certainly protected by an NDA as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Vickers also points out, we as far as our guest is concerned in the cryo crate in cargo, we have to do the right thing by her, and the right thing by her is turning her over at Arcturus. I mean, that's the closest place we can get to that might be able to provide help. UA admin will get in touch with UPP, and they can work that out. But she needs help that we can't provide.
I'm
No, there
100% behind you in that. I'm sorry, Bob. I didn't mean to speak over
Yeah.
you. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure they won't get in touch with her. We need to give it to something like Doctors Without Borders, otherwise she's just going to disappear. She's infected with an unknown genetic rewriting organism. She's just become jackpot for any corporation.
Yeah, I think she's probably a commodity now.
Weren't you just arguing a moment ago that we should sell the shit to the corporation directly? But listen, I don't think we really have a choice based on our contract. I think we're legally bound to turn all this over to the UA. But
Well,
what I'm thinking about is how do we do it? Is there a way to do it where we're transmitting this publicly, right? Like a Mayday call, so that there's a record that this ever happened, right? A way that's an open way of handling this. Because we handle it in secret if there's a party that's controlling this, that's worried about this getting out, then we've basically handed ourselves over to them, right? We've just put our heads on the block.
Is
so
that
to speak.
Mitchell Roman? He says, is that really wise though? Have you heard of the book Space Beast? I mean, this guy claims to have seen real life, vicious aliens that took out his entire prison colony, and he published it, and the book is banned. You can't find a copy of it anywhere. It's banned throughout known space, and you can't find him. The guy is gone. No one knows where he is. I mean, if we put it out there, aren't they just going to make us disappear? And what little information does make it out, the corporations and the governments will control it. If they don't want this information out there, us putting it out there, is that really going to change anything?
If they want us dead, we're dead, right? The best we might be able to hope for is that somebody tells a story about Space Beast on some ship in the middle of nowhere 3 months from now. If you understand what I'm saying, like, if they wanted that dude who wrote that book dead, he was going to be dead, and if he didn't say anything, nobody would ever know he even lived, right? He put out a book, he wound up dead, but at least you know his story.
I think, God, it's going to be a hard choice, and we're going to have to kind of roll the dice no matter what we go. But I mean, I think at a basic level, just having an insurance policy, whether that's the data in another scientist's hands, or if it's something that'll get transmitted to the papers, or I mean, something, or even just being upfront with them and saying, look, we've got the information in a shuttle and we dropped it off in a system that you don't know about. And unless we go back to that shuttle, they're going to tell everybody. And just tell them, like, that's our insurance policy. Be upfront with them. This is material that we know is really important, and frankly, we want to keep doing business with you, but we don't trust you, so we have this ready to go if you don't let us go after we drop this off.
Quick question: how far are we from a non-UA, non-UPP system?
Oh, quite a distance. Quite a distance. You guys, well, nah, it's probably not accurate. Give me 1 second. Let me get that straight. Pardon me.
Well, he's looking that up. The shuttle isn't just it's not just an emergency shuttle. This thing can sustain, I think. I'd have to look it up again, but it's got FTL, and I think it could take up to have 2 passengers and survive like 2 years or something like that with whatever's on board. It's not just a escape pod.
That's a true statement. That's a true statement. It's basically a lifeboat.
Right, and it gives us the opportunity. We could disembark. We could safely have a couple of members of our crew take the shuttle, drop them in the middle of space with no systems around it, and then navigate back to them. And if we don't show up, they can always find a system. We basically have 2 ships, is what I'm saying. That would be our insurance, and then we can play it straight with them, and just this is a big deal. So I don't know. I don't know how they would take that from us, but there's probably a good chance that if we just show up at the UA, is there a garrison? I'm sure there's a garrison at Arcturus, right? So,
yeah.
There's 100 different ways we could disappear by just showing up there and saying, "Here we are. Here's all your stuff."
In fact,
and I don't know if an NDA for 6 people, especially having 2 scientists on board, which are all about sharing information, correct? Right? So are they going to believe that our 2 scientists are going to keep us quiet?
Most, or just about half the scientists out there work strict NDA kind of work for corporations, because that's where the money is. Not all.
This true, but this is like a planet. This is like a planet killer potentially if you get enough of this stuff on the surface. So is it? I don't know. We've got our little Oppenheimer moment here, I think.
So let me do. That's an interesting. I like that. That's a good analogy. I like that.
I mean, that's how I see it too. This is a big deal.
Let me drag you guys over to the star map real quick. And I also shared something with you guys, a handout that you should see called Arcturus map.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am having trouble. There we go. All right. So looking at the Arcturus map for a second, and you might have to zoom in a little bit. I apologize for that, and scroll around. So the Arcturus has a shockingly small population for a planet that has the only sentient alien life that Earth has found. It's only 25 or 30,000 indigenous people, and they're 99.7% human. But they're mostly hairless. They're very thin, very gaunt, and all have very pale skin. That's mostly because Arcturus gets very little, or the habitable zone gets very little direct sunlight, so there's not much need for melanin or that type of thing. There's one primary large settlement called the Grand Kavas, and then that has several large round buildings which accommodate starships. And then way up to the north, there's something called the Colonial Rig and the Trading Post. The Colonial Rig is where the USCMC have their garrison. And then the Trading Outpost is exactly what it sounds like. It's where people from all over the UA come to do business with the Arcturans. Um, the Arcturans, and you guys would all know this because you were at Arcturus, right? That's where you left from. The Arcturans live in basically stone and mud brick homes that are built into the sides of these buttes. You can kind of see them barely on the image. I know it's not that great, but where you see a lot of the buttes, you see a whole bunch of structures, and that's where they live. Um, they're a strange, almost Stone Age society with heavily advanced music and, shall we say, homeopathic medical arts. And they have an odd religion that focuses around the Star Teachers, which are people that came from space that taught them how to build and how to live in harmony with the world and each other. That harmony does not extend to the Arctura, which are a species of ape that live in caves underground and are extremely primal, though somewhat intelligent. They also use tools and such. So anyway, that's LaSalle Bionational has a farm there where they grow fungi. So anyway, that's Arcturus. Um, in terms of now, I pulled you all back to the star map, and Arcturus is of course right here. Okay, and you guys are here right now. There is about 3 parsecs down here in the system is 4 Tau Boatus, which, by the way, how you pronounce that was a point of much contention. I put it on the Facebook group because there's a bunch of star systems that the name is Bootis, but the second O has like an umlaut, like in German. So it was quite a debate: is do you pronounce that in German, or Swedish has something similar? Do you pronounce it that way? And the general determination by about half of everybody is that it's actually pronounced like cooperation. And the what looks like the umlaut over the second O is just to let you know to change to the other pronunciation of O and create a second syllable. So anyway, there's a system there called 4 Tau Boatus, which has a 3WE, a large 3WE colony on the planet GBH 45. That is pretty much the closest thing to you. If you don't go to UA space. And then the closest thing in UPP is way up here. I mean, it's forever away.
What is
Okay,
the
so-
entity that you said owns Boatus?
3WE, the 3 World.
3WE.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah, they're
What's our standing
are
with
they?
them?
3WE and UA are unfriendly allies, is the best way to put it. 3WE fought their own war against the UPP, which the UA didn't really directly assist with. They more or less just sent aid, kind of like what we're doing with Ukraine, just sent weapons and medical aid, that type of thing. Of course, now the UPP and the UA are in a dust up, and 3WE is not really getting involved in that. So they're supposed to be allied, but that's more just a holdover from the old US-UK NATO relationship. They're really not direct allies anymore, but they're not enemies by any means. 3WE does feel squeezed because they're kind of right between UA and UPP in a lot of ways on the star map, so they feel like they're always in contention for resources and living space, if that makes sense.
On the internet,
Well, this
it's
might
saying
give us.
they're the home of
Go ahead.
Wayland Yutani.
They are the home of Wayland Yutani. That is absolutely
Doesn't
correct.
make me very happy.
In recent years, UA, because UA uses a lot of Wayu stuff, and in recent years, UA has been pushing away from Wayland Yutani. They're in terms of their military contractors and whatnot, they're trying to use other organizations.
What is three WE? Do they have what kind of reputation do they have as far as corruption compared to the UA UPP?
They're they are not really known for corruption, is the best way to put it. They kind of stride the line between capitalism and socialism. They're a by and large capitalist economy that has a lot of socialist leanings in terms of workers' rights, yeah, universal health care, that type of thing. They're not really known as being corrupt, but they are generally known as being somewhat do nothing. Promise but never really deliver.
Okay, so we may have an out here because doesn't it was ICC code or another code said we have to bring her to the closest entity possible, correct?
Yeah.
And if all we have an obligation to do is bring her and inform them of what we observed being wrong with her. We don't have any contractual obligation to give them any more information than that, which means it gives us time to finesse what we want to do with UA, right? Just turning into a Firefly episode here.
Yeah, I think that seems sound. I mean, eventually we have to make a decision.
Well, yeah, we do, and I'm going to throw it out there that, I mean, at least as a planning step, legally we are required to bring her to the closest government entity, and that's 3WE, and then we can figure out how we want to parse the data. Now, we're turning her over, and she looks to be a biological weapon herself, so there's that concern, and we're giving it to an entity that's ineffectual, if anything else. I don't know. I'm throwing that out there because I'm inclined to say let's go there, and we're going to have to set up some sort of safety scenario so that we can extract ourselves in case they get too interested in what we have on board. But that may cover both bases, and if they give us a problem, we can always run back to the UA and claim ignorance and say, hey, protect us, but at least somebody else knows what's going on out there, right?
Right. I mean, that's the whole point of not going, right, is to make sure to cover ourselves, like ensure ourselves that somebody else knows what's going on. So I don't know too many other ways of doing that other than transmitting in the blind.
And Bob, if you want to sell it to the WAU, then that's probably the place to negotiate that. But we don't know if we want to do that yet, right?
Yep. Sounds good. At the end of the day, Jake's not that evil, so he's all for trying to save her life. He just likes
Mr. Dunning, any input?
Let's make a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are we, Mr. Dunning, any input before I cast my vote? Dwayne?
It sounds like people's minds are made up.
Well, what's your counterpoint?
You can always make your argument.
Frankly, I think that when word gets out, if we do anything with the information other than provide it to UA, they're going to cancel our contract, and we'll be done with them.
Well, the end around that was what Jim was saying, that we have a victim here that needs immediate assistance, and so going out of our way is sort of unethical, right? Like if there's a hospital's an hour away and you go 5 hours away.
And it's law, right? I mean, I know this is a bigger question. We can always use the cover of.
Yeah, I understand.
The law says.
I still think we're going to lose our contract.
And that may
well,
be
then we
case.
could fight them in court because we'd have something. We'd have legs to stand on. Because if you have somebody whose life is in the balance, you really have to take the available.
The law trumps their cancellation of contract. So they'd be in breach then, not
Well,
us.
it doesn't sound like you guys need my vote because it sounds like you have a majority. So
Well, you can go on record as voting against if you want. And right now it's two people have voted, so it could be a tie.
You
I mean,
still
we
have
don't know.
Vickers and Roman.
Mhm.
Vickers, he says, from the standpoint of doing the right thing by our our patient, for lack of a better word, he says, I think we still have to determine how we're going to handle the UA, and I think we can do that. I think we can. I think we can figure that out. But from the standpoint of how we're going to handle the UA, I think we need to. I think we need to go to the nearest medical facility possible. If that's GBH 45, 3WE space, that allows us to perhaps drop her off in a situation where either A, she can get help, but also a neutral government that's not currently involved in hostilities, and perhaps she will actually get back to the UPP like she's supposed to. He says if that's what we're doing, then I vote for it. Roman kind of adds, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that turning her over on a 3WE controlled world is going to be much different than turning her over to the UA. I think it's possible that we can continue down this path. I think it's possible that we can do both. I think it's possible that we can turn her into 3WE and still fulfill our contractual terms with UA. Because if we look at the terms of their contract, that's asking us to report anomalies and abnormalities, so we will tell them we found the UPP world. We'll tell them what we found there. It doesn't mean we have to tell them we found a survivor and turned it over to the 3WE. Does it? Can we, I mean, is there any reason we don't? Do they really need that information?
I'm wondering if they would even care. I mean,
Yes.
provided it's on the up and up. If we
They
found a
will-
survivor and took her to the nearest medical station,
Then it
It-
shouldn't
I would-
matter.
how could they object?
Then it
I-
shouldn't
I would-
matter. Go ahead,
I
I'm
would-
sorry.
I would say it falls under the report anything obscure and interesting. She is carrying
Well, yes.
a contagion that is otherworldly. So
That's the
And
reporting
really-
part of it, but the actual turning her over, that seems like it should be handled via law and SOP and every other thing, right?
Yes.
Like,
well,
Yeah.
and in that vein, if we turn her over, they have to understand what they're dealing with. They can't just pop her out of cryo and let her infect everybody and then spread this stuff all over.
well, we would never do that. We're not like
But here's
terrorists.
the point. The point is they have to understand what they're dealing with, which means we have to give them,
We have to turn that information over to them.
we have to turn over the information so they know what they're dealing with. So they know not to just pop her open and do their own forensics right away because they could all get infected.
well,
I don't know. Is that 100% true though?
All we do is we tell them she's contaminated with a potential biological
Right.
entity, and they can do exactly what we did.
And
No,
we tell them how deadly it is. Everybody died on the site, but we're not like galactic level virologists that are going to be able to figure this all out and give it to them in a bow and say, this is what's wrong with her. I mean, this could happen right now in any number of different ways.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
terrestrially, it could happen that you have somebody who's infected.
And
who-
I'm saying we can control how much of the information we give, but the
Yeah.
fact that you know that it changes someone's DNA, the fact that we know it's virulent and passes from person to person, that information has to be provided so they know what they're dealing with.
We could just tell them that. We don't
Yeah.
have to tell them how we know. We just tell them that based
I
on
can
what we
literally
say.
go and tell them potential airborne, DNA scrambling, biological warfare, from agent, handle with care. That would
And
be-
another thing, we don't have any obligation to say where we found her. it's a big universe out there. They don't know which system to check if they wanted to go and mess around with what we
You're
found.
probably right. If 3WE ends up giving her or notifying the UPP will know where she was. They'll know.
And that's fine. I mean, we didn't do anything wrong. We went to a system that wasn't supposed to have anything there, and we rescued one of their
She'll
people.
probably tell them as soon as they defrost her, right?
Probably.
She's not going to keep secrets.
Well, surely they have somebody on GBH 45 who speaks Russian who could communicate with her. So,
I mean, just for fun, remember, if we don't tell people that the planet is potentially harboring a biological hazard, then anybody that lands there from now onwards, it's going to be blood on our hands.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's definitely a hazard now that travelers need to be aware of, because it's ethically immoral for us to keep that knowledge quiet.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, what if some ship touches down there for supplies? Now they're all dead.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go on record. Dwayne's going to go on record saying that I'm not ready to jump to the conclusion that the UA is some nefarious government entity that's going to quash us or kill us or somehow keep all the information secret and let everyone in the universe, in the galaxy, take their lumps. So that's where I am. I'm not ready to jump to the conclusion that it's an evil entity. Weyland Yutani? Maybe. All right, well, let's get on with it. We've discussed these ramifications now for what? 20 minutes?
Roman has one additional question.
Okay.
Does anybody, and I know the answer to this, so let me just put this out there. I have a vested interest in making sure this research continues on some level. And I do not, we don't have enough information here to continue that research. But we have all the samples we could possibly need sitting in a cryopod. Does anybody have a problem with defrosting her just long enough to get a blood sample?
Yeah, I don't want to contaminate the ship.
We can do it in the science lab. We've got ways that we can contain her there. Jake or he looks right at Vickers and said, "I wouldn't put you in this position. I'll do it myself. I'll climb into a pressure suit and I'll go in there and take the sample. I'll decontaminate. We could probably get the sample before she even completely wakes up. And then close her back up and put her right back into the cargo bay."
I mean, from my point of view, how much blood can we draw without killing her?
Oh, quite a bit. But we could probably, before she really wakes up and becomes coherent, we could probably get just a few vials.
Sounds good to me.
I know you're trying to get I'm going to go along with just questioning this. You're trying to get a sample. If it actually alters her DNA, do we need the blood, or do we just need a skin sample without waking her up?
Well, I think we want the whole pathogen so we can get somebody to research it, and so that the rest can be sold on the highest black market for research.
Are you sure this is really something we need? I mean, you guys don't have enough samples already. Didn't you get a sample of it from the spacesuit? You already know that it works on DNA.
I think that's all been destroyed when we looked at it.
Yeah,
But I'm saying, like, what more do we need to know? that we need to study it further? What more?
Well, we don't even know what to do with it. I mean, or how to use it or combat it. All of that needs living samples to run tests with.
And if the spirit of this is to have an insurance policy against some government or company, UA, whomever, from making us disappear, the more information we have as that insurance policy, the better off we are. Plus, I can't help but, again, return to the medical applications of this could be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of patents that could come out of this could set us up for that.
All right, my primary concern is the safety of the ship, but I'm not a scientist, so scientists think they can make this happen with little to no risk to us, and maybe we should discuss it.
Worst case scenario, we do it in the airlock and we decon once we're done. So it is doable.
Yeah, Roman, yeah, he's nodding his head. I agree. We could do it in the airlock very easily. Seal her back in the cryopod, and then if Apollo detects anything, we can run a decon cycle, and everything's solved.
Speaking to the scientists, if things go south inside the airlock, what are you prepared to accept for us to keep the ship safe?
Well, I'd prefer not to die, but if we maybe link ourselves with cabling to the ship and you blow the ship, everything that's not connected to us will fly out and you can reel us back in.
We have EVA suits, don't we? Were those the suits you guys were wearing?
You got the pressure suits, yeah. So Roman's like, certainly, sure, we could, we would go in pressure suits, and then we would tie off, and if somehow everything went, as you put it, went south, then if you had to blow the airlock, you blow the airlock. I mean, we'll be tethered in, so we'll be all right, and then close the airlock back up and decon.
Looks like we lost Marty. Nope, there he is. I don't know. Rudy, what do you think?
I mean, nobody's talked about the
there he
potential
is.
danger to the woman yet. I mean, is there any danger to her to do this?
I don't see how. We pop the lid on cryo, we take a couple vials of blood, and we close it back down. I don't see how that could be dangerous to her at all.
All right. I mean,
How do we know that cryostasis essentially slows down your bodily functions to an imperceptible rate? But how do we know that that's true for this mutagen?
That's why we do this in the airlock, and if something goes wrong, you just blow the airlock and it goes out the ship.
And that's another reason, actually, why we need that data. That's another reason to do this, in fact.
Exactly.
all right, let's do this.
Alright. Alright, so we're going to...
I'll go for it.
Alright, we're going to keep this very, very simple.
It's a good thing we have a long way to go on this this trip with all the discussion we're doing.
Well,
All right, so who's the cryopod is in the cargo bay, so
right.
it's got to be lugged somehow all the way to the.
Well, the airlocks are attached to the cargo bay, so
Which one's the cargo bay? I'm
it's
looking.
it's on the subdeck.
Subdeck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it's on the subdeck. So what I'll do is I'll just move you guys down there real quick. Even though you may not all be... I just moved. Yeah, sorry, wrong
We're
spot.
not there anymore.
There you go. right. So we'll have Jake, and we're going to have Roman, and I imagine Vickers is probably standing by just in case there's an issue. Dunning, you're heading down there because you're probably getting to do the heavy lifting.
Well, looks like it. What are we? Where are we gonna take this cryopod?
Just into the airlock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dr. Roman starts suiting up in one of the pressure suits again. Rudy, are you monitoring from the bridge, or are you coming downstairs, or what are you doing?
Well, it seems like there's a lot of people down there already, and they know what to do if shit hits the fan. So I guess I'll stay and monitor from here.
Okay.
In case the shit hits the fan.
And we can open the outer doors to the airlock from the bridge, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Right. So, Jake, what is your do you have medical aid at all? How many dice do you have in medical aid? Any?
I'm a biologist, Jim, not a doctor.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so Roman's got 6. So I'll have him roll, and I'll give him +1. So Dwayne lugs the crate into the airlock, and the two of you suit up, go into the airlock, and it closes behind you guys. And Roman's got a needle and some vials ready to go, and he kind of looks at you, Jake, and says, "Are you ready?"
I nod nervously.
All right. He says, "Go ahead and pop it open. I'll get the blood." So, all right. All right. He has a success. So, yeah, you guys get it open, and he wastes no time as the wispy vapor is coming out of the box. He wastes no time to get down to her arm and kind of unfold one, find a good vein, and get going. One success, I'm gonna say he manages to get one good vial of blood before she starts to really kind of get conscious again. He kind of looks at you and says, "I think we're out of time. I think we got to shut her back up again." So he pulls the needle and slaps a band-aid over the spot really quick and pulls out of the box. He goes, "But this should give us something to look at." So, see, that wasn't so bad. You guys were all worried.
Now we've got
Blow the airlock right now.
All right, so I'm guessing we're going to talk about the containment protocols for this, and then I think we need to talk about what happens when we come out of I want to say hyperspace, come out of FTL. Is there any other events that we need to explore here? Or are we clear with this operation? Or I probably jumped ahead here. Are we clear with this operation, or are we still working it?
Pardon me 1 second, I'm sorry.
GM likes to keep you in suspense here.
Nah, I'm sorry, just work texting me. You guys certainly could. You guys had originally talked about actually leaving the crate in the airlock in case there was any problem that the airlock could be blown and the crate just shot out into space. You guys had discussed that as an option, which is fine. Beyond that, I think Roman Roman would definitely like to spend some time with the blood sample before you guys go into the freezers.
I'm sticking to him like glue.
Yeah. And as a side note, Apollo didn't pick up anything. There was nothing to decon. So after you guys popped that crate open, so whatever she's infected with, or the exposure didn't transmit anywhere beyond the crate. So.
We are a nervous bunch, aren't we?
You are. You are.
Well, you had us play like 6 or 7 one-shots before we did this, so that's on you, Marty.
Yeah, it is probably my fault. I'm gonna have Roman do an observation roll on the blood sample back in the science bay. Ooh, that didn't go too well.
I'll assist.
Yeah. Well, you go ahead and make your own observation roll, because I imagine you guys would both be looking at it for different reasons. So you can go ahead and make your own roll, and there we go. Even though he's technically not a PC, he is. I'm going to let him push, so he gets 1 success.
I think this is the once per game session automatically pass observation roll.
Oh, very good. All right, very good. So the blood was definitely she's definitely infected. Her blood cells are dying quickly. There are these invasive cells from this mutagen, this chemical. It's invading the blood cells and rewriting the DNA, and they're just dying when that happens very, very quickly. They just turn black and shrivel up. So she was definitely infected with it, and it's what you're seeing under the microscopes definitely match what you saw on video from the standpoint of a micro versus a macro level. So this is definitely it's all lining up to be the same substance, if that makes sense. And Roman confirms that it does actually go in and rewrite parts of the DNA code, and in ways it almost turns the body's. It seems like it's almost turning the immune system against itself during the cause of this, because the body, from what little you could tell from that blood sample, and you would see this as well, the body's immune system is responding to its own infected blood cells as if they're an invader.
So it's basically like hay fever.
So yeah, that was interesting. So the plan is you guys are going to jump into, unless anybody has anything else to add, you guys are going to jump to cryo and head to GBH 45.
Sounds good.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, in that case, considering what time it is, that's probably a good place to stop. Wouldn't you guys say?
I think so. Yeah.
That makes sense to me now that I think about it.
Yeah. All right.
Well, yeah, some really tense moments there for a non-combat encounter.
Right. Let's see how this sets us up for.
Oh.
No, it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
It's fun.
it's always that's always the question, right? Is if you can make it tense in a non-combat situation, because I mean, combat with xenomorphs is scary enough, but you guys didn't have to fight anything. There was not one roll for initiative during this whole game.
No, this is a different kind of fun, and it's neat. Trying to think our way out of a potential difficult situation, and who knows? I mean, who knows what's coming, right?
That's a true statement. That is a true statement. So we'll.
I'm sure we'll regret all of it.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure it's going to be fine. I don't know what you guys are so worried about. I keep saying it's going to be fine.
Rudy takes out her revolver. checks to see if it'll fit in her own mouth at this point.
That's dark.
polishing the bullet.
This
Like
was for
lethal
me.
weapon.
This was for you.
Oh. That one round that he keeps in his pocket.
All right.
All right.
He's such an edgelord. Okay.
I guess.
Edgelord.
Yeah.
I guess that's that then.
Okay.
All right. Well, cool, Marty. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Damn it! I need to
And
know what happens.
I know. Like,
Next week.
yeah, I'm open every Wednesday. I don't have anything coming up on any Wednesday, so I'm good for the foreseeable future.
Sounds good. I'm in a pretty good position for every Wednesday. There's still a lot of upheaval at work and a lot of scheduling conflicts. So it may come up over the next couple months where I have to miss one here or there. But obviously, I'll know ahead of time when we get to that. So if that happens, I'll make sure everybody's aware. We'll deal with it as it happens. So,
Sounds good.
Otherwise, we'll see you next Wednesday.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right,
Thank
guys.
All right, fellas.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Good time.
Thank you very much.